The time is
13
o'clock.
All right, welcome back to the show. What is today, Jenny?
It's the Valentine's Day special.
Valentine's Day special.
We're doing Valentine's Day shit all this week.
Yeah, and you know what we do every year, Valentine's rolls around. It's always like a killer couples.
Yeah,
episode.
I believe this is volume 3
Yeah.
of Killer Couples. I had to go back to the last 2 shows because I couldn't remember what ones we had done before, and I didn't want to repeat them.
Yeah, over the years, I guess we've just done so much material, we forget what was on the show and what wasn't on the show.
I know, I have to go back and check.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. So
I've had actual subscribers come ask me questions about shows that happened 3 years ago. I don't remember the show they're talking about. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Wait, did we do a show on that?
And
well,
I was
yeah,
like,
because
oh,
that's,
yeah,
I guess
yeah.
it's cool because new people are finding us all the time. But it's this right here is episode 182, and we've done so many things. And some of those episodes had more than one story on it, some of the disappearances cases and the killer couples cases. So it's and I don't remember everything that we did.
Yeah.
If we did the show a year ago or 2 years ago.
Some of the shit we did, the audio was so so lo-fi that's almost kind of we forgot about those shows.
Yeah, probably.
And
Because
we're
remember,
still-
for a long time, we didn't even have a video component.
No,
we just had scrolling a slideshow type thing.
slideshows, which is a pain in the ass.
It was.
We're still trying to figure out lighting. We got a decent camera, but if we put it on HD, the computer systems we have wouldn't be.
Yeah, my computer goes.
Take forever.
No.
Yeah,
and then the audio and the video starts going out of sync. It does that if every now and then, especially if we record for too long, at a go. That's why I usually have to do these in pieces, because if I go if I go more than an hour and 15 minutes in one shot, it'll start, the audio and the video will start going out of sync.
Yeah, because we will improve the show. It's just gonna have to happen slowly, and when we get more patrons, which we could always use more patrons. We have a small, hardcore patron following. You know what I mean? We got a lot of $20 a month plus subscribers.
We do,
There's not a whole lot of them. So we're at the point now where if you want to become a subscriber and you only want to, if you want to become a patron on Patreon, every dollar would now help at this point.
Well, yeah.
If we had 300 people each giving $1, that would make a big difference.
Well, yeah, it definitely would. And I could definitely upgrade equipment, do that
Get a
kind
better
of stuff.
computer, better cameras and shit.
Yeah, because I do have one Mac, but my Mac is still several years old. So I kind of switch back and forth from the PC, because one of our listeners sent me a free PC, and that was really super awesome.
That was a big upgrade.
So I've been using that for video editing, but I still record on the Mac.
Yeah.
And the Mac is still several years old.
Me, I just got a huge tablet. When you guys see me online, I'm working from a tablet.
Yeah, he doesn't even
I don't even have a computer.
Yeah, or a cell phone.
Or a cell phone.
he just has.
Why do I need a cell phone? I
tablet.
said, man, what am I paying for this shit for? I don't talk to anybody. Don't call me. I'll call you. But I haven't called anybody in fucking years. Well, I call my dad every now and then.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I don't like talking on the phone.
I like talking on the damn phone.
I don't mind if people want to text me and
That's
stuff
a boomer
like that.
thing.
But
We're
it's
not that old.
Yeah, that's
We're
what I
not
mean.
that old.
Yeah, we're Gen X.
I know that.
I don't
we
like
didn't,
to talk
we didn't
to
like the
people on
phone back then.
Yeah, I was and I said that before. I was so excited when texting and emailing was invented, because I'm hooray, I don't have to talk to people anymore on the phone.
We're from the fucking dark ages. We're from even back before caller ID. And some of you youngsters don't even know what caller ID is.
Yeah, you had to pick up the phone to see who it was.
Yeah, to see who it was. You'd be like, hello?
And then sometimes it was somebody,
yeah.
Oh, God damn it, now what do I do?
Yeah.
You're breaking up. You have a wrong number.
Yeah.
No habla inglés.
We give a shout out. And we give a shout out to a friendly channel, Weapons and Stuff, guy from England. Once this damn pandemic outbreak hit, his channel fucking blew up. He live streams couple times a day, and all he does is explain NBC gear, nuclear, biological, and chemical gear. And he's never served in the military, but he knows his shit. He's one of those autists that sits around and collects NBC gear and reads all the manuals, so he can actually give pretty good advice. So if you want to know anything about masks or how to protect yourself against biological agents, he'll give you the whole rundown. He's sitting there live streaming cha-ching, 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 a couple $100 per live stream.
Well, yeah.
Doing good work, too. Training people from around the world how to damn protect themselves from the, what do they call it? The coronavirus. Which, man, some videos from China just came out today of them actually forcibly taking people out of their homes in the biosuits and shit and throwing them in the back of damn vans. It's heavy down there.
Somebody asked us to do a show about pandemics, so that's
not
just that one, but about like the Black Death and stuff like that. So I think maybe we'll do that one. Next time.
Yeah, I have some NBC training myself, and other servicemen, who are subscribers, they know all about them damn mask drills and going to Mop 4. That shit was fucking torture, especially in the summer. Sweat pouring down your face, getting into your damn camo paint, or getting into your bug repellent that was on your head, and it goes into your eyes, and you can't rub your eyes because you got the damn mask on. I was like that for like 8 hours one time, nothing but just blinking and straining and fighting fucking bug repellent out in Korea in the summer.
Gross.
Oh man, we were fucking doing that damn simulated fucking chemical attack. Fuck that shit. All right, just off the top of my head, if you're worried about that shit, the best defense against any kind of bio stuff is isolation. Just don't go out in public, stay home. That's the best defense.
But most people have jobs that
but if it gets real bad, if it gets real bad, nobody goes to their jobs, depending on what the hell's happening. I mean, China's breaking down. Some of those cities are quarantined, and everybody's staying home. If it ever got that bad here, canned food, rice, beans, fresh water, just stay home. A mask could help you, but that's not that's not really what your life depends on. Your life just depends on, can you stay home for a couple months? So you want to look at it that way. But hopefully it won't get that bad here. I mean, I think China's in a special circumstance. They don't quite have the services. I think that's part of it. Another thing is it has been hypothesized, I don't know if it's true, but it might have been an escaped vaccine that the Chinese were working on, and it was a vaccine to some kind of a maybe almost kind of like a tailored race-specific bioweapon that maybe they were trying to, because they won't give out a sample of what it is. And some of the people, there was an Indian firm that got a hold of it, and they said, man, that's genetically engineered. It's got a bunch of stuff spliced on it. It had like some kind of a bit of DNA that looks like it came from the HIV virus, the part where it actually, like the receptors, the thing that gets into you. It's not HIV, but there are parts of it that look like it came off the HIV virus. It's just weird. We won't know anything until it's here.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, we might do a show about pandemics. Yeah. Like I said, not just about that, but we'll talk about Spanish flu from World War I and the Black Death and stuff.
We're overdue for something like that.
Well, there was one in 2009. Actually, that there's been ones kind of like ongoing. It's just you don't hear about it so much because it's not as devastating as the ones back in the day.
Yeah.
Because it's not it's not like widespread death tolls and shit like that.
Not
so much.
Most people that get it survive.
That's what I mean. So you don't really, it's not like millions dead like the Spanish flu, like back in the early 20th century. You know what I mean? So.
Well, we don't know what the lethality rate. I think Spanish flu was only like about 6-7%, I think, lethality. Some people are saying that the one coming out of China right now is more like 15%. Some of the people that are dying are in their 30s. So it's not killing just the old. Yeah. It's killing young people.
Well, like I said, we're going to do that show on that next week, probably.
You're right. And there's nothing you can do if you catch it. You're just going to take Tylenol and drink a lot of water. There's no cure.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's just like any other flu. There's really not much you can do about it once you get it.
Once you get it. You can't really trust the Chinese data. Everybody's interested in this subject. You can't trust the Chinese data. The lethality might be pretty high, but that high lethality might have something to do with the Chinese condition. It may not be as lethal here. A lot of it has to do with like shit like diet, population density, how stressed out the people are in that environment, if their metabolisms are kind of weak from low protein diets or overworking, or even things like people who don't sleep much might be more gravely affected by a viral attack. There's just no telling. There's too many factors.
Yeah. All right, so I got like a whole bunch of shout outs before we get into the topic of the show. First thing is, if you hadn't noticed, we finally, probably like a decade too late, finally got on Instagram.
Yeah. We're all on Instagram now.
I think it's like, at this point, I maybe have like 4 posts on there. Well, what ended up happening was that a long time ago, I made like a personal Instagram account, and I had like 700 something followers on there, but I don't think I ever posted anything on there. Yeah. So then the other day, like, Tom started one, and I was kind of like, but, I should really start one for the show. It's like, people keep bugging me about it, and it's like, I just never got around to it. It's mostly because my phone, it doesn't have the memory to have the app. But since I figured out, like, how to emulate a mobile phone, like, on my laptop, so I can post stuff from my Mac laptop, then I decided, well, I'll just take my personal account and transfer it to a 13 o'clock account and start posting stuff about the show. So we'll just kind of post, I'll post all the episodes on there, and it's just like, I went
on there a long time ago, but it was back when my tablet, I didn't have those memory expansion chips. Yeah. So it was sucking up a lot of data. But I put those chips in there and then tried it again. I forgot all about Instagram. Forgot that I even had it. I already had an account set up and everything. But it works real well now. I wasn't really sure what you're supposed to do with Instagram.
Well, it's just another social media.
But you know what I mean.
It's just for more visually oriented than.
It's a lot better at trading pictures and videos and commenting on pictures and videos than Facebook is.
Yeah.
And it features a lot like Messenger too.
Yeah.
So, but after a few days of messing with it, I like it. So I'm gonna start using it a lot more.
Yeah, like I said, and I'm gonna start like try and post at least 1 or 2 things a day. Yeah. That's show related, whether it's just like merch from the show or like new episodes that come out or shit like that.
It's also kind of like YouTube. It's just faster and shorter videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like YouTube merged with social media.
But like I said, it's it's been around for such a long time, and it's just I never got to and so many people have like it's like, why don't you guys have an Instagram? It's like, come on, everybody's on that shit. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, okay, well, finally I got around to doing one. So.
Yeah, I had it, but I wasn't using it.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I wasn't either. I had an account, and it's just like I had like a bunch of followers, but I don't think I ever posted a single thing. So I just always forgot about it. I was so worried about fucking Facebook and Twitter and the blog and everything else. So it's like I just kind of it fell by the wayside. So go check us out. We're just 13 O'Clock Podcast on Instagram. And like I said, there's probably only 4 or 5 posts on there at this stage, but I'm going to try and post a couple things a day that are show related. Maybe, selfies about, hey, we're recording the show, or pictures of Pokey or whatever.
Updates on the show, stuff like that.
Yeah, shit like that.
Personal stuff. I was posting about spam. And a lot of people were fucking thumbs up in that. Because I'm one of the few guys that like spam. And then people were fucking saying, man, that's shitty stuff, and I'm blocking them. Don't you talk bad about spam.
Spam is gross, though.
Spam is awesome. Spam War 2020.
Yeah, I just don't like it. I don't like any meat that comes in a can, except for tuna.
It is not mystery meat. It's pork shoulder and
ham.
I
know, but there's something like it's kind of like how I don't like I usually don't like sherbety type of things because I'm kind of weird about like fruit and milk kind of together.
Yeah.
With rare exceptions. I'm the same way about like meat in a can.
Yeah.
There's just something that I found like kind of viscerally disgusting about that.
I got over that from the Army.
Except for tuna.
I got over that.
I like tuna.
Yeah, I got over that in the Army. It is a militant type meat. I like it. It's a military style food product. And, World War II was spam powered. World War II would have never happened without spam.
Yeah.
It powered the American Army and the Soviet Army.
I'm going to make you a shirt that says, I'm spam powered.
Spam powered. Yeah.
I probably can't sell it because I get sued. But you know what I mean? But I can make you one, though.
It's anti-Nazi meat.
The anti-Nazi meat.
Yeah.
Maybe it's made of Nazis.
I don't know.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Well, at least they'd be
good.
good.
Japanese
they'd be good for something, wouldn't they?
Fighting the Japanese.
Let's grind them up and make a sandwich out of them.
Yeah.
Fucking Nazis. Yeah. But yeah, so go check out our Instagram account. Eat spam if you want to. Mm-hmm. Also got some shout outs. I would like to give a big thank you to friend of the show, Melanie, for one of her many generous PayPal donations. So thank you very much for that. Also, we got some new patrons.
Yeah.
Hooray! We got one named Justin. Justin with a Y. We already have one that's Justin with an I, but this is Justin with a Y. Good, so thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you for becoming a new patron.
We also have Lana, who I think was a patron before, but then she had to leave, but then she came back.
Yeah, if you guys ever have to fucking leave, don't worry, you can always come back. Or you don't have to come back if you don't want to.
I still love you.
That's right. Hey, man, real life interference.
I understand, man. I just had to pay my taxes. I understand how this shit goes. I paid less this year, but that's because I made less this year.
Yeah.
I either made less or I spent more. One of those two things. I yielded.
I don't think you launched
less.
as many books that last year.
I did, though.
You did?
I think I got... You know what I think it was I think when I did all my taxes and added everything up, because I don't know if you guys know, but like when you're self-employed and like I have 3 different income streams, like, book, podcast, and graphic design, which I do freelance. So I have to do all those 3 things separately, like the income, the expenses, and then you have to do checks separately from PayPal and like all this other kind of shit. I need an accountant, but whatever. I use TurboTax, and it's like, I just hope I did it right. Please don't audit me. But
you don't have anything to take.
That's what I mean. It's like, yeah, come get it.
Yeah.
What, you want $1? Yeah. I have $1 here.
People forget that. They're not going to audit you unless you got something to take.
That's what I mean. And they did tell me, like, they went through my stuff. They show you your audit risk, and mine's always like low. They're like, dude, you made like $20 this year. Yeah. It's like, no, it's fine.
You don't own any property or anything. So
right. That's what like I said, they don't really have anything they can take from me. So, except, my kidneys, maybe. But you know what I mean? So it's like...
China.
You never know.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that I got a little bit less freelance graphic design work this year. I think that's what ended up happening.
Probably.
Just because I had already done like all their packaging and stuff, and they didn't launch as many new
That's
products
what it
this
was.
year. I think is what happened.
Healing Butterfly gave you all those contracts to make all those packages.
Yeah, which I still did like a lot of work for them. But
Not like it was.
But I don't think I did as much as I did last year.
Right.
So it in a way, it was good because I was expecting to pay as much in taxes as I paid last year, but I was like, well, I guess it's still silver lining. It's like I made a lot less than last year, but I also had to pay a lot less in tax. So that's something at least.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a long show tonight because you can always tell we're already padding it out with talk of taxes.
Well, yeah, we haven't even fucking started talking
Hadn't
about
even started
I gotta do this in like 4 pieces because we're doing 4 couples. I think that's what we did last. Actually, I think last year we did just 2 because it was like kind of a big...
Holiday shows tend to be longer.
Yeah.
People like it anyway.
I'm trying to record this in the middle. It's Saturday afternoon, y'all, and it's like I really, really, really wanted to go out and dance tonight. So I'm really trying to get all of this recorded before I have to start going to get ready and get...
Yeah, which means that I have to start drinking tequila early. Which means I don't know how I'm going to get there and get back.
You'll be all right.
I'll stop. I'll try to sleep it off before we go.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's easier for you because you don't have to. I mean, I take like a lot longer to get ready than you do.
Yeah.
It's like you can probably get ready in like half an hour. I take like 2.5 hours, like doing all the hairdo and the makeup and figuring out what fucking like squeezing my ass into my clothes and all that other kind of shit.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. Also, we have another patron named Trevor. So hey there.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you very much, you guys. I would also like to give Rob another shout out for sending us even more movies. He sent us Altered States, which we reviewed last week. He also sent us Solaris, the remake
he sends us
with
like
George.
5 movies a month.
Yeah, with George Clooney. So it's like I said, he sent us 30 Days of Night. We still need to review that. That'll probably come out like in a week or 2. Because I want to do a Valentine's Day one this week.
Yeah, if you guys want
That's
an in-depth movie review, because we have a movie review show too. If you want that, you got to send us a Blu-ray or a DVD, and Jenny can give you the address. But if you send us the down Blu-ray, it guarantees that we will do that.
Yeah,
so.
We might not do it like immediately, but we will get around.
But we will do it.
I mean, because I have a schedule, but I will like switch things around.
Right, we get a lot of requests in the down in the comment section.
Yeah.
Do this one, do that one. Where's the movie?
Well, I have like a big long list, and
we
like
have
I said,
our own list too.
Well, yeah, and like I said, I usually like sometimes if I had one on the list and like say Shudder adds it or Netflix adds it, then I'll push it up the list because I'm like, oh, there it is. Let's review that like before it's gone.
Right, but if you really want to review that badly, then you'd send us the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And a Blu-ray, we'll move that to the front of the line. Yeah, DVD, it might take a couple weeks. Yeah.
Or like I said, it's, this week...
we will do it if you send it to us.
This week I had one in mind just because it was like the holiday week and I wanted everything this week to be that theme because I'm kind of anal retentive like that. Mm-hmm. All right, so I think that's all the shout-outs. Did you have any more?
No, the talk show part is over.
Just like that.
It's
still,
the 70s style.
Every time we start this show, like before I push the record button, I still always hear the Johnny Carson theme in my head and see the little rainbow curtains. Isn't that
every
fun?
now and then we get these little comments in the comments like, why are they talking about this? We grew up in the 1970s. All right, that's when they had things called talk shows, where they actually sat around on television before a live studio audience, drinking and smoking cigarettes and talking.
Yeah.
About a subject or just generalities. You know, like old Merv Griffin's show.
He's the elevator killer, you know?
Yeah, the elevator killer, yeah. So kind of like a weird true crime and paranormal version of that. And I got to remind the audience every now and then because we had new people coming. You know, it's like this is a long format show.
We'll get to the topic eventually.
It's a long format show.
I promise.
Chances are you're commuting or you're driving or you're in bed with damn headphones on or you're working around the house. So, you know what I mean? If you just want the facts and shit, go on Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, or go, you know, you can check. This is entertainment.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, and usually I start cutting up and Jenny starts cutting up. You know, it's just, you know. This is the way, and all shows are like this. If it's not like this, then it's not a show.
Yeah, like I said, it's a show with a capital S.
Yeah.
All right, so since this is the Valentine's Day show, and as has become tradition over the last couple of years, we decided we were going to do True Crime, Killer Couples. This is Volume 3.
Yeah.
Now, it's alarming to me. I mean, killer couples in general are rare. Not as rare as you might think, but... So I had this humongous list of like ones that we hadn't done before because I think last year we did like UK, so we did like Brady and Hindley and we did Fred and Rosemary West last year, and we did kind of the bigger ticket ones like the year before that. I think with Ken and Barbie killers like Homolka and Paul Bernardo and like some other people. So this year I just picked 4 kind of at random that I thought were interesting. So hopefully you guys think they're interesting as well. So in the first segment, the ones we're going to talk about, this is going all the way back to the 1940s. And these are, appropriately, the Lonely Hearts Killers, otherwise known as Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck.
These ones are from up in Canada?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't know this one then.
Yeah, this one is...
Well, if I do, I forgot about them.
Yeah, this one's kind of interesting. Responsible for possibly the deaths of as many as 17 women. And this is a guy who was originally from Spain, but then moved to the United States, and a woman who was actually born in Florida. And how they kind of met and how they ended up, killing people. So yeah.
It's so weird, man, that you can get a guy who likes killing people and killing women. He's like a serial killer. But then he can get a woman as a thrall. It is very strange. She's like his main fan who watches him do all this shit.
Oh, and that is big time. Yeah. This situation here. I mean, this woman, like I said, and I probably brought this up on like some of the killer couples. I'm fascinated by the dynamic between like the killer couples, and I'm not saying that women can't be just as evil as men, because some of them are. However, it is very rare for women to be serial killers. And if they are, they usually take, much different methods. So, I was watching this one documentary about one of the other couples that we're going to talk about, and they, the psychologist on there was saying, it's only 5% of your violent crimes, not just murders, but violent crimes in general, are committed by women. So obviously, it's kind of a thing where, and I talked about this a little bit when we were talking about Brady and Hindley, it's like, would the woman have committed these crimes had she not met this guy? I think in a lot of cases, probably no. I'm not saying that they're not responsible for their own actions, because they are. I'm just saying that if fate had not intervened in that way and they met this guy that happened and they fell in love with him, because like a lot of these women have very low self-esteem or they have other issues. And so they meet this guy and they want to do everything to please him. And then it's kind of like a frog in boiling water situation where it just kind of like leads up to them participating in this kind of shit. Now, like I said, it's, there are a small percentage of women that probably would have done it anyway because they're just evil motherfuckers. But I think in a lot of situations, had they been left to their own devices, I don't think they would have been serial killers.
Some kind of synergy that builds up.
Yeah.
This guy, he has these desires to do this, and then he meets a woman who will tolerate his desires, and he does it and gets away with it in front of her, which kind of encourages him to do it again.
Yeah.
And then her threshold for tolerance of it goes up and up to the point where all of a sudden she's doing it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
some of the victims that have survived from some of these cases, the victim says that the woman was worse.
Yeah, and in some cases they are.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm not saying that they're not responsible, because obviously they are, and a lot of them are. A lot of women have like a lot of like darkness in there and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the times it wouldn't express itself had they not been put in this situation, or put themselves into this situation where it was like encouraged for them to be like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The guy kind of unleashes it in her.
That's what I mean. I think that happens in a lot of cases.
And it's some kind of weird alternate. It's like an alternate sexual. What do you call it? Orientation.
Yeah.
It's like a sexual orientation.
Yeah.
Serial killing.
It does kind of seem like
an
that.
Extreme
in a lot
version
of
BDSM.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's one way of putting it. That's kind of fucked up, but that is like one way of putting it. So let's talk about. So what I want to talk about each one of them, like into like up until they met each other, and then we'll kind of get into their killing spree. So Martha Beck, as she would be known later on, she was actually born Martha Seabrook. Now she was born in 1919 in a town called Milton in Florida. Now, when she was very young, she actually developed a glandular condition that not only made her very, very heavy, but also made her sexually mature much younger than most of her compatriots. So by the time she was 10 years old, she basically had like a woman's body. She had like breasts, and she had all like the secondary sexual characteristics, and also had a sex drive to match. However, she was also very, very overweight. The glandular, condition had made her overweight as well. So she was actually the target of a lot of bullying, which did not help her, mental situation. Also, I think her parents were kind of like, particularly her mother was like very domineering. It has been said that she was molested, that Martha was molested by her brother when she was very young, and her mother blamed her and beat her up for it. So, not so cool. So it's sad, because I feel like someone like her, who was very heavy from an early age, and she was bullied from an early age, so she kind of wanted love, and it kind of wasn't coming her way. You know what I mean? Right. So I think that kind of contributed to like some shit that happened later on. So she goes to nursing school in Pensacola. She graduated first in her class in 1942. However, she had a hard time finding a job, maybe because she was so overweight. So she ended up getting a job at a mortuary, like preparing like female corpses for burial. You know what I mean? Because that was, I guess, the only job she could find in her field. So she kind of gets sick of this shit. She moves out to California. She finally gets a job as a nurse in an army hospital. And then she would start, because like I said, she had like a kind of a voracious sex drive, but because of her appearance, she was having a hard time, like, getting anything for that.
Couldn't get a man.
Yeah. So what she would start to do was she started like trolling the bars, like picking up soldiers, like having various one-night stands and stuff like that. And this is the 1940s, so So she ends up getting pregnant by one of the soldiers around this time.
Back then, being overweight, but that was kind of rare in the 40s.
It was, and like
People
I said,
were scrawny in the 40s.
Yeah, and like I said, in her case, it was a glandular condition. It does appear that it was like a medical issue, and not just like, oh, she overate type of thing, which is sad. So she gets pregnant by a soldier. The soldier, not surprisingly, doesn't want to have anything to do with her. However, when she told him that she was pregnant, he, in a rather drama queen type fashion, threw himself off like a pier into a bay and killed himself.
Damn.
So,
Never heard of that.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little strange.
He
could have just left. I mean, that's what most dudes would do.
He must have had a really weird kind of like background.
Yeah, that there seems like I said, it seemed like that probably happened all the time. Like dudes would just knock up chicks and be like, okay, bye. But it's like just jumping in a fucking lake. That's odd.
He probably came from a small town, was kind of a young guy, very, how should I say, kind of a very much of an honor system, an honorable background, probably. So he was like, oh, I have to take care of this child with a woman I don't love. Oh, woe is me. And then he killed himself.
Yeah. Whoop.
Instead, probably because he couldn't bring himself to just abandoning the kid.
Yeah, I guess maybe he actually had something of a conscience and he felt bad.
So maybe
Whereas, like I said, most guys would probably be just like, oh, well, bye.
Yeah, but maybe not in the 40s.
Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, maybe that was like a kind of a big deal.
That was like a big deal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he couldn't take it.
So as you can imagine, this was not great for Martha's self-esteem because she's like, here's a guy who would rather die than marry me.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't really make you feel good, does it?
Maybe that's not exactly what happened. Maybe that's just how she interpreted it. Maybe that's
that's how you would interpret it.
Maybe this is the story we're getting. Maybe he was suicidal for some other shit, too.
It could have been, sure.
And he may have been a bunch of other stuff. It was unrelated.
But it does seem kind of like that she's like, hey, I'm pregnant. And he's just like, okay. And then he jumps off the thing.
I'm gonna die.
Right. It's like... Can you imagine, like, if you're a woman, like, how that would make you feel? It's like,
I would rather die.
I guess I suck. Okay.
Yeah.
So, because of this, she ended up...
Damn, bitch, you're so ugly, I can't...
That's what I mean. Oh. That's what she would think. And you have to understand, this poor woman... I'm not going to say poor woman, because she was, like, involved in, like, murder and shit later on. Yeah. But this woman had been, like, shit on her whole life for being fat, essentially. Right.
So she built up a lot of hatred.
So she had built up probably like a lot of self-loathing and shit like that. And something like that, she's like, well, that just cements it. Okay. So, so she went into a depression and moved back to Florida. Now, at this stage, she was still pregnant. And because it was the 1940s, she was like, well, I got to think of a cover story for this shit. So what she did was that she made up a story that she had married a Navy officer while she was in California. She even, like, bought her own wedding ring and wore it around. It's like, oh, he'll come back and all this other, so, like, he's out deployed or whatever the fuck. She told everybody, like, about him. She made up a name, all this other kind of stuff. And then she said that, well, she thought to herself, it's like, well, that, I'm going to get busted if I don't come up with something. So she sent a telegram to herself that he had died so that she could show it to people.
Right.
And... people bought it to such an extent. I mean, she's from a small town, right? Milton, Florida, which is up in the Panhandle, I think. But
that's damn near Mississippi.
Yeah. So she made up the story, so everyone felt really bad for her. They're like, oh, this poor woman, and she's pregnant, and now her husband was like deployed, and he died like in combat or whatever, and she like kind of milked it. She was like, oh well, okay, crisis averted. So she had a daughter in 1944 named Willa Dean. Now, a couple of months later, she meets a bus driver in Pensacola and gets pregnant again. Now, this person, whose name was Alfred Beck, he actually did feel bad, and he actually did marry her, which is why she ended up being Martha Beck later on. Although he didn't really seem too jazzed about it. He was just kind of like, oh, well, shit, all right, here we go. And that's what happened. They were only married for 6 months, and then they got divorced. Now, Martha had actually lost her job not too long before this, so now she had 2 kids, and she had no money. Now, at this stage, it seems that she kind of went into a fantasy world, like a lot of women of this type do, where it's like her whole apartment, like once they searched it, was just full of like romance novels, romance magazines, stuff like that. So she's kind of like gone into this delusional state where she is trying to find somebody who's going to take her away from all of this, who's going to rescue her.
In case any of you youngsters don't know, because you may not know anything about this, the romance novel was back in the day, it may still be this way now, the romance novel was the old school woman's equivalent of the damn girly magazine.
Yeah, that's like woman porn.
It's woman porn.
It still is.
Yeah, it probably is, yeah.
Well, because I do feel like, I mean, because, we might have talked about this before, but it's like, in general, like I said, all of my shit's general, all right? I'm not saying like all women do this or all men do that, because that's bullshit. In general, men are visually oriented.
Yeah.
Women tend to be more imagination oriented.
It's all in their mind.
So I think that's why like romance novels, like and erotica and stuff like that, sells much better with the female demographic, because they don't like seeing, because there's like, I don't know that dude, who is that? You know what I mean? You like to imagine, so you can put yourself in, or you can put someone that you're sexually attracted to in it, and you can like put it in your brain, and it's a lot more, that turns women on a lot more than seeing it in front of their, in general.
Men just aren't wired that way.
Yeah.
it just, you can describe it all day long. It doesn't mean anything till the guy actually sees it. You're like, oh,
right.
okay. Yeah.
Whereas women are almost the complete opposite.
And
Because like I said, it's easier for them to like think of their own situation in their head and personalize it to themselves, which they
It's
tend to like better.
evolutionary and it's hormonal. I mean, you got people today, you know what I mean, especially these young kids, they're very confused, especially with some of these modern educations. They're saying that there are no differences between men and women. Oh, no. There are a lot of differences. A lot of it's hormonal. I mean, if you take a bunch of testosterone and inject it into a woman, they start acting like a man. They start seeing eye to eye with a lot of men. Because testosterone is like a damn drug. It does make you do and think and feel in certain ways.
Yeah.
And as a guy gets
Assholey.
old... What's that?
Assholey.
Yeah, it makes you very aggressive. It can make you very mean at high concentrations of it. But it also makes you very active. You know what I mean? As I'm hitting 50 now, you know. I lift, which does help boost some testosterone, but men lose testosterone over time. Now, you can do that TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, and you can bring it back into like the levels of a 20 or 30-year-old. You sometimes might have to kind of measure it out. Do I want to be like I was back in the fucking 20s and 30s? Because you can do some stupid shit, man. Fucking But, yeah, you know what I mean? As testosterone declines in men, you start being kind of sleepy and happy to stay home. She gets pissed. She's like, "Mom, let's go out and go." And I'm like, "Oh, man."
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to dance. Come on. I'm almost as old as you.
Yeah, but it's a different situation. I can feel that I feel different.
Yeah.
Definitely feel different.
It must be like a bigger, because
it's a bigger difference back from, say, like, oh,
I'm not saying that sometimes I wake up and I'm
18, 19. I was an uncontrollable fucking sexual psychopath. That was it, bro. I was gonna get some.
Maybe it's because I've kind of like low level felt like crap my whole entire life anyway, so I'm just kind of like used to like feeling like crap at a low level.
Like being negative.
No, I'm just saying that. So it's like, so now it's just like, oh, I kind of feel like crap, but you know, whatever.
No.
You just have to like power through it, man.
Testosterone will make you feel like you're on top of the fucking world.
See, I've never experienced that.
Oh man, it's like,
so
yeah, it does. And it just makes you feel indestructible, like you could do anything.
But like I said, that does end up.
Yeah, and you wake
in certain amounts that you're just like being a dick to everyone else around you.
Yeah, it's
in high concentration.
It makes you very competitive, very alpha male. You know
That's what I mean. So it's making you a dick to everyone around you.
Well, everything. Here's the thing. It's not about what society thinks. It's about what works. And a lot of those guys, even though they're dicks, are successful. They're successful in their careers. They're successful at having children. Doesn't matter whether or not people like them or not. It really doesn't matter that much. There's always a certain market for that.
Yeah.
You know. But
well, like I said, something for everybody.
But no, there are differences, you know, and they don't teach that nowadays. Everything it's not PC.
Well, it depends. The thing is, there are differences, but it depends on what you're talking about, and it's hard to say that, like, you know, men do this, women do that, because there's such like a huge spectrum, and everyone is different. Like, individuals are different. Like, there are some generalities, but I can't say that like any individual man, say, is this way, or any individual woman is this way, because I don't know that person.
There are generalities.
But there are generalities.
Yeah, and here's another thing, is that there's truth in stereotypes. Stereotypes about, even racial stereotypes. Stereotypes about white people. They tend to be true. White people, black people, even like, you know, Latino people, me growing up in Brazil, there's fucking stereotypes there. There is, because they're talking about the average. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the average in any kind of a group. That's where the stereotype comes from.
Yeah.
Now, the stereotypes will change over time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, what the stereotypes of the 20s were is not necessarily the stereotypes of today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because society changes over time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's something to all that.
I mean, in general, though, excuse me, in general, though, I've never found stereotypes all that useful, because, like I said, for a given individual, it doesn't help.
It doesn't really help you dealing with an individual
when you're dealing with an individual, because it's like, who knows how far away from the stereotype.
Exactly. It's always,
because, like you said, it's an average.
It's just an average.
So it's, like I said, to me, it seems so watered down that it doesn't really seem to have any use.
Yeah, and when you're oddities like us, like me and you, in the scenes that we never meet average people really anyway.
I don't think I have ever met
Like-
an average person in my whole entire life. Well, maybe some people that I don't know well.
Right.
But you know what I mean?
Well, being in the military, you didn't really run into the average black guy. It was the average black guy for the military, not necessarily the average black guy that was... And it was the same thing for the white guys. You weren't running into the average white guy.
That's what I mean.
You're running into the average white guy in the infantry.
That's
different.
why I say that stereotypes are useless, because I
Right.
have never met a person that was
really-
like the average. Because that's what the average is. It's everyone's...
I don't know.
It's everyone's personality traits, like, watered down to such an extent that it's like it doesn't really seem all that useful to me.
I'm from Mississippi, or I grew up in Mississippi. Part of the time as a kid, and no, there were average Mississippi motherfuckers that run into.
I've met people that hewed pretty close to the average, but they always had like some quirk or something like that wasn't what you would expect.
I guess, yeah. Well, everybody's an individual.
That's what I mean. Everyone I've met has at least one thing that I didn't expect.
When you're dealing with an individual, it's always face to face, eye to eye. It's the relationship you have to that individual person,
right?
So,
and like I said, I'm probably not average by any means. No. By any metric you want to measure.
Now, if you were average, I wouldn't be with you.
Well, yeah, but
You know what I mean?
I embrace my weirdness. It's like, you know what I mean?
See, her and I were buddies before we even went out.
For a long time.
For a long
year
time.
and a half, something like that.
So,
I was still married when I met you.
Yeah.
Although that was going down the toilet.
And her and I got together because we got along so well.
Yeah.
We couldn't get...
Even though we're like very different.
We're very different.
We're very different.
Couldn't get rid of each other.
That's what I mean. It's like, in some ways, it's like, you kind of tried to get rid of me. I kind of tried to get rid of you. I'm like, I'm going out with this other dude, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like...
It didn't really matter.
You just kept coming back and being like, what are you doing that game?
Well, we were friends.
Yeah, true.
We were dating other people.
Yeah.
But
it's just funny how
it seemed like as time went on, we just kind of drew together instead of drawing apart.
Well, and it's funny too. It's like, for a long time before we were even like kind of going out like officially or anything, everybody thought we were anyway.
Everybody thought we were, but we
just
weren't.
because we were always hung out together, and people were like, "What the fuck?" It's like, why are you even bothering? It's like, just please, because like everyone seemed to know before we did.
It was
not no, but you know what I mean. Everyone was just like, "Would you just go out already?"
There were a lot of differences between Jenny and I, but there weren't enough differences to make a difference, I guess you could say. Like, we had different politics and shit like that, and different fucking opinions about certain... But in a way, it kind of complemented the team, because we were more like a team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I do feel like you had a lot of... I mean, particularly one thing that I liked about you is that you're like a lot more outgoing.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm very introverted.
Yeah.
I don't really like to do like public speaking. I don't really like to have to like go up and like talk to people like, hey, what's up? Like, I don't really do that type of shit because I'm really shy and kind of like inside myself all the time.
A lot of it had to do is we could approach a problem from two different angles.
Yeah, and I do think that that's very helpful. And,
And we could tell each other no.
Yeah.
And we could also tell each other we were full of shit. You know what I'm talking about? Like, don't do that. That kind of stuff.
Which, yeah, we did a lot of that, actually.
Yeah, you're fucking crazy.
It's like, what the fuck? It's like, what are you doing? Don't do that.
Kind of ended up where the worst of our characters kind of got canceled out from somebody else trying to stop the other one from doing that shit. The only time we ever fought was because we were both fucking loaded.
True. Yeah, we don't usually fight when we're sober.
No, sometimes that shit comes out.
A lot of shit builds up.
It'd be resolved within a couple of days anyway.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's just, But, okay, so, where was I? So, yeah, we were talking, it's the Valentine's Day show. We can do that. We can do that kind of shit. We can talk about that kind of shit.
This is our show, goddammit. Part of the show is a reality show. A lot of people that listen to us are kind of like our friends, I guess you could say.
Well, that's how I see it. They are our friends. Yeah, I talk to them like all the time, like on YouTube, on Facebook, and shit like that. So I feel like I know a lot of people. I came up
listening to the Howard Stern show, so I know what a good show is. He put on a good show, especially in the prime. In Howard Stern's prime, back when he was fucking honest.
Do you think maybe we need strippers?
We don't need strippers, but what was that was?
I didn't know if that's what you were getting at.
Cutting edge. That was cutting edge back in that day.
Yeah, now everybody.
That's played out. What made Stern so good is that he was honest, and you got to know who he was.
Yeah, he's a personality.
He'd talk about his problems and everything.
I think that's why a lot of people even if people thought that he was obnoxious or a dick or something like that, he was so honest about his
how
own
fucked up he was.
Yeah, that I think people like that disarmed people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
His thinking and everything.
Because he wasn't arrogant.
And then Robin, and who was his co-host, and so in the drama that was going on outside the show. So the Howard Stern's show was not the show; it was the people.
Yeah.
The topics that they talked about, they were good, but that's not why you were listening to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I kind of do that on our, like, I'm interested in the topics, and I hope you guys are interested in topics too, but it's like, if you just wanted to know, like you said, if you just wanted to know about the topic, right, then you could just go to Wikipedia or whatever and read, or Murderpedia, and read about it. And weed about it.
A lot of time, in a way, the show is almost kind of like a reaction video. Because we're reacting to the shit, and they're reacting with us. And I like reaction videos, you know what I mean? People reacting to heavy metal. To
eating certain things.
Black people reacting to heavy metal. That was a whole fucking genre. Do you know that?
Yeah, I know.
That they've never listened to heavy metal, but then they're listening to it. They go, oh, okay, I like that, That's a genre on YouTube.
I like the videos that are like people from one country reacting to like eating candy from another country.
That's right.
For some reason, I like those.
To see their reaction to shit.
Being like, what the fuck is this shit?
In a way, we're reacting to these cases.
Yeah. It's like, because like I said, it's kind of like, I don't, obviously like I take notes and everything like that about, and do research on the topics and like watch documentaries if I have to about them and shit like that. But he doesn't usually... I mean, he knows what the topic is, but it's like he doesn't usually, unless it's something like ancient Rome or something you already knew about, he doesn't usually know about them. So this is kind of like, and I don't edit hardly anything out. So in a way, it's almost kind of like a live stream.
Yeah, and we have
except
to go,
not because
we have to tell this story and explain the show at least once a year. Okay.
Well, in case, because new people come
They're like,
along
why the
all
fuck?
the time.
What does Tom do? What the fuck? Tom is the audience. I'm the audience.
He's the audience surrogate.
I'm the surrogate for the audience a lot of the times. There was a couple shows where I led the show because it was a topic that I was into and knew about, but sometimes I, react more or less or chip in more. It depends on the situation, but really, I'm the audience. That's what I do on this show.
That made me feel.
I'm Ed McMahon. She's Johnny Carson.
That's right. I'm just as much of a dick as Johnny
Ed McMahon didn't do shit. He just went ho 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 ho.
Like Jabba the Hutt.
Like Jabba.
Now that you think of it.
Ho 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 ho.
Yeah, that's kind of like a good explanation of the dynamic. Mm-hmm. He announced the show. He was like,
Yeah. Ed McMahon had an easy job.
He did, yeah.
He had an easy job.
He just kind of had to sit there.
Shit ton of money.
He was kind of like, I don't want to say he was like the straight man, but he was just kind of like you said, he was like the reaction dude.
He was the reaction dude. He was the audience because Johnny didn't want to sit up there in that desk by himself.
Well, it's a little weird, like sitting there. Like the few times that I've had to do the show by myself, it's like I'll do it, but it's
thousands of people watching you.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Even though I'm just in my own office, like talking, I feel like, who the fuck? Why am I talking to myself?
Yeah.
This is like crazy.
Right. Well, that's exactly what Ed McMahon did.
It's easier to just like talk to you.
And we're talking about fucking personalities that are long gone. You got to be at least fucking 45 to understand who Ed McMahon was.
Well, we're old people.
We're old people now, but
that's all right.
That was back in the time when you only had a couple channels of television to watch.
Yeah, I used to watch it with my grandma.
Yeah, I used to love fucking Tonight Show.
Yeah, I did too. Because it's like I would stay at my grandma's house a lot, and she loved the fucking Johnny Carson, so we would always stay up and watch it. A lot of times I would fall asleep on the couch while I was watching
old David Letterman.
Yeah.
Not late model David Letterman, but 80s David Letterman. Funny as fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a funny ass show.
Yeah.
All right, so should we get back to talking about
okay.
Because like I said, this is going to take all day.
Right.
All right, so Martha Beck. So as I said, she kind of got into like the whole romance novel thing like that. That's where we went off on a tangent when I was talking about romance novels and true confession type magazines and stuff like that.
Talking about porn.
Yeah, woman porn, yeah. And how she was all into like Charles Boyer and stuff like that. She actually did end up getting a job in 1946 in Pensacola as a nurse. At a hospital for children, actually. And the weird thing about it, considering what happened later on, was that she was really, really good at her job, and she actually became the nurse superintendent of the whole hospital. Like, she got, like, a lot of accolades and shit like that. So, now, I've heard two different stories. Now, either she ended up putting an ad in one of those Lonely Hearts type columns or magazines or whatever, like they used to have back in the day before they had like Tinder and shit. You'd put like a little ad in there saying seeking marriage, yada yada.
Yeah, and it was a trap, man. Don't mention that.
It's a trap. But so either she put it in there. The more common story is that a coworker put an ad in there for her to make fun of her, which I buy that. I you know what I mean? That sounds like something that some asshole would do. So although it was apparently put in there as a prank, she still kind of hoped that, well, maybe someone will answer it. Although the ad did not mention that she was almost 250 pounds, it also did not mention that she already had 2 children. Mm-hmm. So, Now, at this stage, let's talk about the other half of this couple, because this ad is going to be what brings the two of them together. So we'll kind of go back and talk about the male half of this killer couple. This is Raymond Fernandez. Now, he was actually born in Hawaii. His parents were Spanish. Now, apparently when he was a kid, he was kind of like a very sickly child, very skinny and stuff like that. So his dad, as a lot of people did back, this was 1914 when he was born, was kind of like, oh, you're no son of mine. Look how small and sickly you are and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? He wasn't masculine enough, apparently. So I guess the dad was kind of like shitting on the kid all the time. Now, when Raymond was 3 years old, the family moves to Bridgeport, Connecticut. Now, in 1932, Raymond, by this stage, was, quite a bit older. So he decided he was going to move to Spain because one of his uncles lived there, and he said that he could come to Spain and work on his farm. So while he was in Spain, he actually, at 20 years old, he married a Spanish woman whose name was, and I hope I'm not mangling this too bad, but Encarnacion. That was her name.
Means incarnation.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool name, actually.
Yeah. All those Catholic countries, they do shit like concession, which is conception.
Yeah.
They're all talking Immaculate Conception.
Can you imagine if you were walking around with your name being Conception, like in English?
Yeah.
I mean, and I've heard of like a lot of people from, Spanish-speaking countries whose names were like Concepcion and stuff like that, which is a cool name, but like I said, in English, it doesn't sound quite so cool. It's like being named...
It's those Catholic names.
It's like being named fucking.
Yeah. Enunciation is the word that was spoken to make God. The enunciation. I believe that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, well, her name is Encarnacion.
Incarnation? Okay,
yeah.
The incarnation
Encarnacion
of God.
Robles
The incarnation,
was her name.
the Son of God is what they're talking about. Yeah.
So so he married her and set up a house. You know what I mean? So in 20, when he was 20. So he actually ended up, even though he'd been a very sickly child, he actually grew into like a pretty like good looking, like, well-built, individual. Now, he was actually, by all accounts, in his early years, quite a nice dude. Very gentle, very calm, very laid back, nothing wrong with him at all. Second World War started, and he goes and serves in Spain's Merchant Marine. He also later went on to work for the British government as a spy. You know what I mean? So now what ended up happening, and this is something that comes up on a lot of our serial killer shows. So after the war was over in 1945, he decides that he's going to move to the United States and look for work there. And then if he finds a job, he's going to send for his wife. And they've also had a son in the interim. So he's like, we're all going to move over here. Now, when he was on the ship that was heading for, it was actually going to the Dutch West Indies. When he was on the ship, he was coming up on the deck, and a steel cover, like the hatch cover, fell on his head and fractured his skull. So here's our good old friend,
the
head injury.
Head injuries, yeah.
And, people have said, like, so the ship docks in December of 1945, and he, his skull is fractured, obviously, so they put him in a hospital, and he was in the hospital until March of 1946, so for 3 months. Now, by all accounts, when he came out of the hospital after this head injury, his personality had completely changed, which is something that happens a lot with a lot of serial killers. Not all of them have had head injuries in their childhood, but it is a very, very common occurrence.
A lot of people have had head injuries. It won't make you a serial killer.
Yeah.
I had one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what cost me my military career. But I'll tell you what, that first year, boy, you're fucking emotionally volatile if it's a major head injury.
Yeah.
I think what happens to these guys is that they already kind of have some weird-ass tendencies. the head injury acts as something that kind of limits their inhibitions.
Yeah.
So they start acting on these weird ass fucking things.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I think this is all about.
I think that does that, yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with what time. I think a lot of it has to do with what phase of development they're in.
Yeah.
It seems like it happens young. When it happens young, then they develop. It changes their development. It causes them to like turn a corner and go down a weird path. At that point.
Yeah.
Because a head injury on an older guy doesn't seem to do that.
Yeah. Like you said, I do. Yeah. I don't know if like the people. I guess a lot of people have head injuries and they don't, like you said, they don't end up being serial killers, but it depends on what part of the brain is affected.
Yeah.
Usually if it's something like the frontal lobe or something like that, because that is something that like will lower inhibitions. So that might just be releasing something that was maybe already in there or that maybe everybody has.
Yeah.
And, just your sense of propriety like keeps you from doing shit. Because, we've all been in the fucking grocery store line and wanted to strangle somebody. It's like, you know what I mean?
For that first year of recovery, I'd say it felt like I had about a 6-pack or maybe like a 12-pack of beer in my system.
Yeah.
No matter what I did.
Yeah, because it took you a long time to get over that. Because it was a motorcycle accident.
Motorcycle wreck, yeah.
Yeah, and it messed your head all up.
Yeah. Well, it didn't mess my head all up, but I was in a coma for a couple of days, and when I came out, it took me a few weeks before I could walk straight. I didn't want to walk in a damn circle.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then had about a year of emotional volatility.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to fight or it was fighting or fucking or crying, one of the two.
Yeah.
Or like super Spock. You know what I mean? It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Your emotions would be amplified.
Yeah.
But it fades though. Because people used to think that the brain can't heal. It can.
Oh yeah. It can come up with workarounds.
Yeah, right.
Given enough time.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes time. Though.
And like I said, depending on what part of the brain it is. But in a lot of ways, sometimes it can kind of like, take alternate pathways to get to.
I got some of the best treatment. I went to Walter Reed Army Hospital. They were pumping me full of like anti-inflammatories and they were doing weird stuff, fucking brain scans and stuff. So yeah, you heal up.
Yeah, it's eventually. Unfortunately, I don't know if it happened for this guy. Like I said, he was in the hospital a long time, but like I said, when he got out, he was no longer the nice guy that he had been when he was in his early 20s.
Made him mean.
He was now very like emotionally volatile, very quick to anger. He like would ramble when he talked. Yeah. Shit like that. And like I said, his injury was in his frontal lobe.
Yeah.
So after he gets out of the hospital, he buys passage on another ship, which is going to Alabama. Now, when it arrives at port, he took a whole bunch of stuff from the ship's storeroom, like a bunch of clothes and stuff that belonged to other passengers or other crew members, and he just stole them. Now, but the stupid thing was, like, when he gets off the ship and is going through customs, they caught him, because they're like, what is all this stuff? It's not yours. So they asked him, why did you steal all this stuff? And apparently he said, I don't know. I can't say why I did it. I just saw other men putting a towel or two in their bags, so I thought I'd do the same. Mm-hmm. So clearly he's not right. He just said he couldn't seem to stop, like, putting stuff into his bag. Like, he saw other people putting stuff in the bag, and he just kept putting stuff in the bag. So he just did. So he got arrested. Now, while he was now this is the fun part of the story. So while he's in prison for the theft in Tallahassee, his cellmate was a Haitian man who was into voodoo.
Yeah.
And he apparently, like, Fernandez got super interested in voodoo and asked the guy to teach him all about it. So as he was in prison learning all this stuff, he started to become convinced that voodoo was giving him, like, sexual power over women. And that he didn't necessarily have to be, like, in the same room with them, but he could, like, affect it from a distance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's called spirit fucking. That's when your spirit goes out and fucks other women. You didn't know? Yeah. It's a common fantasy.
So he thought. That
psychopaths.
Yeah, that his voodoo powers would just like make panties drop like all around him. He apparently really became convinced of that. Like I said, head injury.
Head injury. Yeah.
So Raymond gets out of prison in 1946.
He's astrally projected and fucking these women in astral form.
And they don't even know
and they
about
don't even
it.
know it. And he comes back and claims victory.
Probably.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
For some reason, I just thought, I don't know if you guys know. There's this song called, who the fuck did that song? It was like that weird Russian punk band. Shit. It's called Invisible Zed.
Yeah.
And it was basically about an invisible, like a ghost. And he was like, giving oral sex to this one woman, getting her pregnant and stuff. And she didn't even know because he was invisible. And it's like, it's a funny fucking song. I'll think of the band later on.
Obviously, it's obviously a beta male fantasy.
It's like this. But he apparently, like I said, he really did believe it.
Right.
So, and he was already married and had a kid and everything like that. But it's like, now he's like going to use voodoo.
Yeah.
How do you use voodoo to seduce women by
Voodoo
Raymond
could do
Fernandez?
anything. Voodoo can steal a man's cock. Remember that?
It's true, yeah.
We did a whole fucking show on that.
Well, the whole show wasn't on cock stealing, but it did come up when we were talking about.
You can convince,
we did a voodoo show.
There are certain places in Africa where you can convince a man that you took his dick from him.
Even though he can look down and see it.
Even though it's still there, but somehow you did that.
Well, that one is just like, he's just imagining that it's there.
Yeah.
It's not really there.
And I don't understand how. I can understand maybe you can convince a guy that you took away his power to get an erection. But how?
Yeah, that seemed like it would be fairly easy to do.
Yeah, that'd be like more believable.
Yeah.
But there's a whole nother genre of somehow using voodoo to steal a man's dick.
Yeah.
And then they
like literally.
Yeah, and then they like pull your pants down. Like, it's still there, and he says, "No, it's not there."
Your dick is right there.
And they're like, "No, it's not there. It's not there anymore." Like, no, dude. They like 10 people.
Maybe it's some kind of weird body dysmorphia where he really doesn't see it.
Right, because there'd be like 10 people going, "No, dude, you got a dick. It's there. He didn't take it. No, it's gone."
Oh no.
That's like the little kid shit. I got your nose. Remember that shit? I got your nose.
Got your penis.
Yeah.
If you're not watching if you're just listening to the video, I was making like the little nose.
Yeah. I got
Except it was penis.
Right.
All right. So, so Raymond gets out of prison in 1946, and he moves to Brooklyn, where his sister lives. Now, apparently, he used to be like quite a good-looking man, like before he went into prison. But when he came out, he'd lost most of his hair. He had a big-ass fucking scar on his head from where the thing fell on him. All this other kind of shit. He also like acted a lot different, which they noticed right away. He had like a lot of really bad headaches. And during this time period, he also decided that he was going to start writing letters to all these Lonely Hearts magazines, and that he was going to, like, the women that replied, he was basically just going to, like, scam them out of money. So that's how he decided that he was going to make his living from now on. Yeah. Was like, and this is where our two lovebirds actually end up meeting. So,
what's funny is late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a lot of this scamming women.
Yeah.
There was a big scamming of the women motif in a lot of crime.
Oh, yeah.
As if women had a lot of money and power back then.
Yeah, that's one thing that I thought was a little odd. Now, some of them obviously did. Maybe it was family money or something like that because, yeah, like I said, women weren't really, like... I'm not saying they weren't allowed to have jobs, because they were, but it wasn't, like, to such an extent that...
It seemed like it was some kind of Victorian thing.
Yeah.
You notice that? Like something left
there was
over
a lot
from
of that
the
shit
Victorian era where you had these like bottom-feeding males running around trying to steal money from old ladies usually.
Yeah.
Who had all kinds of money.
Yeah.
Widows.
Yeah,
because they were just trying to exploit some kind of weakness.
Yeah, because they thought, oh, well, this woman is older, or maybe she's funny looking, or something like that, and it's like they could take advantage of her by flattering her, because they said, well, it's not like she's got like a whole bunch of suitors knocking her door down, so maybe if I'm nice to her, then I can get all this shit out of her.
I wonder how much of that's going on today.
Probably not that much, because everyone's cynical, and probably rightly so.
Yeah. I guess that was more of a time of innocence where people...
That's what I mean, where it's like, well, how could you do such a thing? Because people suck, that's how. But I feel like, yeah, I mean, nowadays, I'm not saying that you couldn't get away with it nowadays, because it does still happen, but I think it's a lot rarer nowadays, just because everyone is like, yeah, no.
Closest thing I can think of today in the modern era would be like these European women that go down to like Jamaica, and the women are in their 60s and 70s, and they're picking up 17 or 18-year-old Jamaican guys.
Yeah.
As if that 18-year-old Jamaican guy's really into this fucking 70-year-old.
Although maybe they just want the D.
What's that?
Maybe they just want the D.
Yeah,
the old lady.
But I'm talking. Yeah, they do.
And maybe she's just like,
They
well,
just want the dick.
I'm just gonna pay for it anyway,
Yeah,
so I
just
might
want
as
the
well
dick.
like get some young guy that can actually like
Yeah.
keep it up for that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They just
So they're
want the
getting
dick.
something out of it.
They're getting something out of it, but they're also the guys getting something out of it too. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
so
he's
in that,
getting a,
so I don't really think anyone's being taken advantage of in that
Yeah,
situation
I guess
because
not.
they're probably
it's just
both,
prostitution.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
essentially.
it's prostitution. Right.
Yeah, the guy's just
But
a gigolo.
what
at
was
that
fun?
stage.
No, they get married.
Yeah,
Sometimes they get married.
yeah. I haven't
Yeah.
heard about that so much, but yeah, I
Yeah.
guess it still happens.
Sometimes they get married. Yeah.
Yeah. But so, all right. So Fernandez starts writing all these letters to Lonely Hearts columns and stuff like that. So 1947, he starts writing to this woman named Jane Thompson. Now, she had been recently separated from her husband and was, kind of lonely and stuff like that. So he starts writing to her, flattering her, stuff like that. So finally, they agreed to meet up in October of 1947. Now, using her money, because apparently she had quite a bit, they bought cruise ship tickets and went all around Spain and had like a 2-week vacation. It was apparently very nice. You know what I mean? Had hotel rooms, like nice restaurants, all this kind of shit. Now, if you will remember, Fernandez was actually still married to his first wife. So he ends up going to this place called La Linea in Spain, which is where his wife lived, and they also had 2 kids at this stage. The weird thing was he introduces this woman to his wife, and then the 3 of them like go out and like do shit on I'm not sure like who he told this woman that this was.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I guess no one suspected anything at first. However, in early November of 1947, apparently the 2 women got in some type of altercation. Maybe because the wife was like, no, I'm his wife. Did he not
Right.
tell you that? Or I didn't know. I don't know
Well,
who
he's
you
just
are.
doing what men do. He's just doing what a man tries to do every now and back in the day, trying to build a harem.
Yes, it does
He's just
seem
trying
like
to build a
that's what he
harem,
was
you
trying
know.
to do.
He's-
So the 2 women apparently I don't know if it was a physical fight or anything like that, but they get in a fight, and apparently witnesses saw Fernandez, the guy, like running out of the hotel room like in the middle of the night because apparently trying to get away from the shit. Now, not so funny, but the next morning, Jane Thompson was found dead in her hotel room, causes unknown.
yeah.
Her body was removed and buried. There was no autopsy.
Yeah.
Now,
On a side note,
what's that?
for you men out there, don't try to build a harem.
Well, that
know many
should
guys-
go without saying.
Don't try to build a harem.
But just in case anybody needs to hear
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's not going to work.
We have personal friends that have tried to build harems, and all hot people involved in this damn harem explodes after about 6 months.
It
Yeah.
might work out for a little while.
Yeah, and
now
then those girls start fighting, man.
well, why wouldn't you?
And then
I
they
mean,
gang up on the dude.
Yeah.
That shit only works in Islamic countries somehow.
Now we
They got it.
we do know a couple
Yeah.
people that that have managed to like over many years have
A bunch of different third
open
world-
relationships, but not the same person for a long time.
Right,
it's usually
yeah.
like it's a couple and then they have a
couple and they
third.
got like this
but then
girl
at,
that-
like every year, every
They
couple
change 'em
years,
out.
they have a different
They gotta
one.
change 'em out.
And that does seem to work out.
Yeah.
But these ones where, because I have to say, I know there are like people that are polyamorous and stuff like that. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about those.
We come
kind
from
of
a
people.
wild club scene. These are all people, if you saw them, and these are like Instagram type looking model type people, okay? Usually it's guys in bands that have these girlfriends that are some kind of a dancer or some kind of a model, and he kind of has the charisma to collect like 2 or 3 of them at once, and he's a king for a couple months until those girls fucking turn on him.
Well, because I feel like
Or they turn on each other.
what ends up happening is that in those types of situations, I think that a lot of times guys like, well, if I got one hot girl, I could get more than
another
one
one.
hot girl.
Yeah.
And then he'll say like to her, hey, honey, how about we do that? And then
Yeah.
she's like, she doesn't really like the idea, but she's like, well, he might leave if I say
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, in
so,
that case.
okay, maybe it'll be okay. And maybe she's into the chick too.
Yeah, there's a lot of that bisexual women involved
then
thing too. But the
After
thing is,
a
it
while,
There's too many fucking egos involved.
That's what I mean. After a while, you're gonna get to a thing where the first chick is like, "Hey, I'm the original chick here." It's like, why do you keep looking at that girl? It's like, what, you know what I mean? It's just not gonna work out. And then, like you said, after a while, the two girls are gonna like befriend each other, and then be like, "Man, fuck this fucker."
That could happen too. There's too many different ways it can go down. It's really
we've seen all of them.
It's not in the man's advantage in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, they might have a good time, like, in the short run,
in the
sure.
short run, but not in the long run.
But you know what I mean. I think, like, 90% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, if you ever see, like, threesomes or, like, polyamorous, that seems like it's, like, almost always the dude's idea.
Yeah. Although, sometimes shit just kind of happens.
That's true.
And
that's a different situation. That's not, like, a calculated...
Yeah, sometimes just shit just happens, and then it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So,
all right,
sometimes shit just happens. So yeah, we're not gonna talk about that anymore. Yeah. So Jane ends up dead in her room. As I said, they didn't do an autopsy. However, a little bit later, suspicions kind of started swirling that she had been poisoned. So they exhumed her body. Now, while they were exhuming the body, or when they were going to exhume the body, Fernandez was like, well, I need to get the fuck out of here, because apparently, allegedly, he did kill her. So he got the fuck out of there, leaving his wife and children alone in Spain again.
Yeah.
So he gets back to the U.S. on a boat. He shows up at Jane, the woman he has killed, allegedly. He shows up at her apartment in New York. And he had a forged will from her that said, hey, before she died, she said that I could have all her stuff.
Yeah.
And people bought it.
Damn.
So he got all of her stuff. Now, Jane's mom lived in this fucking apartment. So this fucking stranger shows up and it's like, oh, by the way, it's mine. So I don't know if he kicked the old woman out or what. I'm assuming he probably did. Damn. But he took all of her shit. Yeah. So, okay. Now, so during this time, while he was kind of like taking all of this woman's shit and then killing her, one of the women that he had been corresponding with was the aforementioned Martha Beck. So meanwhile, as Fernandez has been continuing to write letters and stuff like that, poor old Martha, who's in Florida, doing great at her job and shit like that, but has not been getting a single reply to her ad. Which, like I said, I'm not sure if she put that in there or if her friend put it in there or whatever. But she didn't get a single reply to it until she got a letter right around Christmas Day of 1947 from none other than Raymond Fernandez. His was the only letter that she was sent. Now, Raymond, in this letter, said that he was from New York City. He said that he was originally from Spain, which is not entirely true. He was actually born in Hawaii, even though his parents were Spanish. He said he was a businessman in the import-export trade, which that's a red flag right there, whenever anybody says that.
Right. Never know what that means.
Yeah, you never know what that means. Apparently the letter was, like, really sweet. Said, oh, I just moved here, to the U.S. for better business opportunities, yada, yada. I live by myself in this big, huge apartment. It's way too big for me. I would like to share it with a wife, all this kind of stuff. He also flattered her by saying, I see that you're a nurse, and that means, you're very generous of spirit, and you have a big heart and everything like that. So Martha, unsurprisingly, was super jazzed about this letter. Apparently, she took it with her everywhere she went. And like read it and reread it and everything. So she starts writing back to him. Like she apparently went and bought like super special, like expensive stationery and everything too. So she goes and starts writing back to him. So over the next couple weeks, they wrote back and forth a bunch of times. Now there came a stage where they were going to exchange photographs, and she did not really want to send one because of her weight. So what she ended up doing was she sent him a picture of her, but she was with a bunch of the other nurses at the hospital, and she was like behind a couple of the other ones, so you couldn't really. And I'm like, oh, that made me feel kind of bad. Yeah. But it's like, yeah. So she did that. So she's like, oh, it doesn't really do me justice. This is the only photo I have. It's like a group photo and stuff like that.
I'm a lot bigger,
Right, and it's like, that's so shitty, but it's like,
smaller than actual size.
I've been there, man. It's like, it's like, hey, it's like, get in front of me a little bit so now I can see how wide I fucking am in pictures. No, I know, but I'm just saying that's kind of something that a lot of girls that grew up chubby like I did, that's like something that a lot of people do. It's like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like taking a selfie from like an angle like way up here and stuff so no one can see your double chins and whatnot. So, yeah. So,
although some of the skinniest bitches we know do that.
That's true. Well, everyone looks better like that. It just makes your face like your face looks sharper. It's like even if you don't have double chins or you're not heavy or anything like that, it does actually look a lot better. Like from that angle, everybody knows that. So, what apparently Martha did not know was that it didn't really matter what she looked like because Raymond Fernandez had only written to her because he was going to defraud her like he had his other women that he was writing to. So he didn't really care about it. He just assumed that because she was a nurse that maybe she had a lot of money, and he thought that was something that he could exploit. So after a few letters, he actually asked for a lock of her hair, and she thought that was really sweet and romantic, but what he wanted it for was for voodoo purposes, because like I said, he
cast
believed,
a love spell on it.
Yeah, he was basically going to cast a spell so that she would be like, so he would be that's like fun. Irresistible to her or something, I guess. Yeah. So it's like, it was just like two fucking different things going on right there. So yeah, so he does like a voodoo ritual apparently with this lock of hair. So she was like super jazzed about it. She sent him the hair with like, she sprayed perfume on it and everything like that.
Right.
Yeah, so... So finally, after that happened, I guess he thought, well, the voodoo ritual has been successful that I've done, so I can actually go down there and meet her in person, and she will be unable to resist my sexual prowess. Yeah. So he takes a train down to Florida, and she's going to meet him at the train station. She's very nervous because she's very heavy. So he ends up coming to Pensacola on December 28th, 1947. Now, he... I don't know if he felt that, oh, she's big and fat or anything. Because like I said, he didn't really seem to care about the woman, how old they were, if they were fat or whatever. It's like, because he was just trying to get their money. So I don't think he really gave a shit what she looked like.
I'm sure he expected them all to be kind of fugly anyway.
Maybe that's what it was. Now it's like, he was actually...
He wasn't a great looking guy himself.
He was actually a pretty okay looking dude. Okay. He was, fairly handsome.
I thought you said prison fucked him up.
Yeah, he didn't look as good when he got out of prison, but he was a good looking dude before that. Okay. You know what I mean? And when he came out, he wasn't ugly or anything like that. He was a pretty good looking dude, especially for back then. So she was like very excited because she thought he looked just like Charles Boyer, like the actor that she was super into. So they kind of hit it off. Like she takes him back to her house, introduces him to the kids. And, once the kids are in bed, Raymond starts putting the moves on Martha. Yeah. And, apparently they, let's put it, consummated their relationship.
Yeah, they knocked them boots.
Apparently. Yeah. So, so they spend a couple of days together, like humping. He's trying to get information out of her, is what he's trying to do, like how much money she's got and all this other kind of shit. But however, Martha, thinking that he's sincere, she immediately starts talking about getting married. But he did not want to marry her, obviously, because then that would, tie their financials together, and he didn't want to do that. He just wanted to take her money and get the fuck out of there. So the more that she started talking about marriage, the more he was kind of like, yeah, I got some shit to do back in New York. My business is calling, so I'm out of here. So
had this been 1800s, he would have married her. Because
probably.
The record keeping wasn't that good. Remember, we heard other cases where a dude married like 15,
he would marry
20 women,
he would go across the country,
go across over there and marry that one, and he died like fucking 20 wives.
Like I said, all you had to do was change your name back in those days. Yeah, you could just fucking poison them or smother them or whatever. Right, yeah. So he basically just said, okay, well, I gotta go, and later on, it's like, oh, I'll be back soon, or I'll send you some money so you can come see me in New York or some shit like that. And obviously, he didn't have any intention of doing that. So. But because I guess he had been fairly convincing, so he gets on the train and he goes back to New York, and Martha starts going around town telling everybody, oh, I'm going to get married again. Like, I met this guy and he wants to marry me and yada, yada. And all of her family and friends and stuff like that, gave her a bridal shower because I guess they bought it.
Right.
Like, well, it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of sad because she actually really did think that all this was going to happen. So on the same day that this bridal shower took place, she gets a letter from Raymond Fernandez in which he says, basically, you misread some signals. I don't want to marry you.
Damn.
So I'm like, that's kind of a downer right there. Martha tried to kill herself.
Jesus.
She did not succeed. However, because
And she had
Raymond,
kids. She's going to leave the kids. Okay.
Yeah. Because Raymond apparently had a little bit of a conscience left, he actually did feel bad that she had tried to commit suicide. So he said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, you can come up here and visit me. So she came up there and visited, and she stayed for 2 weeks. Now, when she got back to Florida, though, she, for some reason, got fired from her job. No one's really sure why. I don't know if it was anything she did or if it was just, she got laid off for some reason. I don't know. But she lost her job. The employer would not tell her why. She suspected that maybe it was because people thought, she was fucking that guy and they weren't married, and it's like it was a scandal and blah, blah, blah. This was back in the old days. But the employer would not elaborate on why she had been fired.
Damn.
So she gets her last paycheck. She told everyone that she had already changed her last name to Fernandez, so she's like jumping the gun big time. She basically picked up her last paycheck and took the first bus to New York to stay with him. So she basically just turned up on his doorstep with her kids.
Damn.
So he's kind of like, well, shit, because his whole career is made out of scamming and killing women. And here's this woman and 2 children turning up on his doorstep, and he's not really entirely sure what to do about it. So he tells her, he's like, okay, well, you can stay, but the kids have to go.
Damn.
So she left her kids at the Salvation Army.
Jesus.
She just left them.
She's a fucking psycho.
That's how, desperate she was.
Yeah, she's a psycho.
Yeah. So she just abandoned her son and her daughter in 1948.
That's a red flag right there. I mean, a woman who's so desperate that she's going to fuck over her own
No dick
children.
is that good.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all.
Yeah, she's a psycho. If you ask me.
Get a vibrator. Seriously.
There's already some problems there.
That's what I mean. She already had a lot of emotional problems before this, obviously. She was not a normal person.
No.
So I guess at this stage, Raymond thinks, well, maybe since she doesn't have much money and since she went to all the trouble of coming up here and getting rid of her kids for me, maybe she can be my accomplice. So he says you can stay here, and he told her all about his fucking scams.
Yeah.
He showed her all the letters and everything like that. He's like, this is what I've been doing. This is what I do for a living. I go around telling women how much I love them and I'm going to marry them, and then I take their money. And sometimes he killed them and sometimes not. Sometimes he just took off. He also told her that he was already married, that his wife was in Spain and everything like that. So Martha, like I said, probably stupidly, she's already given up her kids for this guy at this point. So she just probably thinks, well, she might as well go all in. Yeah. So she is now becoming his accomplice. So she actually helped him pick out the next victim.
Yeah. She's already a psycho for leaving her kids behind. I mean, there are a lot of women out there that are not good girlfriend material. They're not what guys are looking for. They can even have kids. And they can spend their whole life being good mothers and being happy. Yeah, they're single, but there's other shit you can do in life.
That's what I mean. No dick is worth that.
It's not really worth it that much. You know what I mean?
It's not.
And there are a lot of women that are in that position that have had kids and been good mothers and raised good kids.
That's what I mean. I feel like that's probably you don't need a man. It's
you don't really need the man that much.
No.
No.
It's just concentrate. If you have the kids, just concentrate on making them good citizens.
Yeah, you got the romance novels, you know what I mean? You got all the little fucking toys, you need whatever. You
buy a vibrator, get some romance
fucking friends, and there's other shit you can do. Even back in those days, they had other shit they can do.
Yeah, it's, so it's really not.
To the kids, really, you know what I mean? Fucking, better than being a cat lady.
Well, there's nothing wrong with
Nothing
cats.
wrong being a cat lady, but you know.
I wouldn't mind being a cat lady. Cats are awesome.
Yeah, but it's better to have your own children. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And her giving up to children, man, that's fucking worse than giving up to cats.
That's fucked
What you
up.
talking about?
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
That she would just do that for a dude she
fuck
hardly
these
knew.
kids, yeah.
But like I said, she had probably never had... Well, I don't know if she had never had sex before. I think she had been sexually molested before by her
kids.
brother.
She had
but,
kids.
Yeah, but it's like, but she had always been like kind of fucked and abandoned.
Right.
So the way that he talked to her made her believe that
Right.
he was going to stick around. And then I think that, you know what I mean?
She may not have had any girlfriends either that could talk sense into her.
Maybe it seemed like she kind of like worked and that was it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she was really good at her job. She was a nurse.
Right.
But I don't know if she had like any close relationships with anyone other than that.
She might have been underdeveloped in the fucking
and I feel like she wasn't real close with her family or anything like that. So she was kind of like, in a way, I want to say she was kind of like ripe for the picking because she seemed like very self-loathing and
might have had a childlike mentality because she really didn't have any close relationships with anybody.
Yeah, I think that was definitely an issue. So she helps him pick out the next victim, and this is a woman named Esther Henn who lived in Pennsylvania. So Martha and Raymond go down to Pennsylvania to meet up with this woman. Now, Raymond tells Esther that Martha is his sister-in-law for some reason. And he's like, oh yeah, I take her everywhere? I don't know. It just seems like really weird.
Yeah, my sister-in-law, she come with me.
Yeah, it's like, it just seems like a weird, it's like, why didn't you just say like your sister? Maybe because they didn't look enough alike or something, like he thought nobody would buy that.
Could have said it was a cousin or some shit like that.
Yeah, it's
maybe
like, why
back in those days they'd have been
why
like, oh,
sister-in-law?
cousin,
That just seems very weird.
Yeah.
So they go down there and I guess Esther bought that. A week later, Esther and Raymond got married in Fairfax, Virginia. Then, now Esther actually didn't end up getting murdered, but she later like went to the police and like later told reporters about what had happened to her. And she said, he was really nice to me for the first 4 days, like after we got married. Then he started haranguing me about signing over my insurance policies and my teacher's pension fund.
Yeah.
And got mad when I wouldn't do it.
Because he was going to kill her.
Right. So at that point, she was like, yeah, no, thank you. Yeah. And she got the fuck out of there. Right. And also, I think she had started to hear like rumors about him that he had a wife in Spain and that like there was a woman that had died in Spain, which was true, that maybe had something to do with him and maybe he had something to do with that. So she was like... She got the fuck out of there. He did manage to steal her car, and he stole like several $100s. But she got out with her life, luckily. Now, that did not seem to stop Raymond at all. Him and Martha just started, going after other people in the Lonely Hearts columns. One of them was named Myrtle Young. She was from Arkansas. She said that she would marry Raymond Fernandez. So they got married in August of 1948 in Cook County, Illinois. Martha posing as his sister this time, not his sister-in-law, because like I said, maybe everyone just thought that was a little weird. Now, Martha, because I guess she thought that she was Raymond's, woman. So, and she's like, oh, well, we're just like scamming these women for the money. So even though he married this woman, Martha like conspired to like not let them sleep in the same bed together. So she's like doing all this stuff like behind the scenes, like machinations and stuff. So it's like she would sleep in the bed with the woman. Yeah. It's like she would, I think she ended up like causing such a stink that Raymond, gave the woman like a bunch of drugs or something like that, like to get her to go to sleep, like a bunch of sleeping pills and shit. So so they gave her all these sleeping pills and then they took $4,000 off of her. Now she had so many sleeping pills that they carried her they put her on a bus and like left her there. The bus took her to the hospital and then she died the next day in the hospital from like an overdose of sleeping pills. And they stole $4,000 from her. So at this stage, so Raymond and Martha keep like...
I wonder if they knew.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think they gave a shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? They just wanted the money and they're just like, whatever. Right. She's not our problem anymore.
Right.
That just seems like what their whole MO was. So they start making their way back east, and they would stop in each town, like meeting various women and like running the scam on them. Now they did manage to like steal some money at some various points, but none of the women really seemed like a good, like a long term, like we're gonna, he's gonna marry this woman and like take all her shit and then kill her or anything like that. So they kind of went around, and then they came back to New York and started going through the ads again. They hadn't had like a really good scam in a long time, so their money is starting to lessen or dwindle or whatever. Neither of them had jobs at this stage. So they finally come across this one woman whose name was Janet Fay. Now, she was 66 years old. She was a widow. She was from Albany, New York. And so Raymond thought that she looked like, a prize victim. So he started writing to her. Now, Janet had apparently quite a bit of money, also had a very nice apartment, and had a habit of writing letters to Lonely Hearts Clubs. And apparently she'd been warned about, people taking advantage of her, like from family members and stuff like that. But she still kept doing it because I guess she was lonely. She was also very religious. And once Raymond found out about that, he laid on the Catholic really hard and was, trying to get into her that way. So they wrote back and forth for a few weeks. Raymond said that, so he was going to go up to Albany and meet with her just before New Year's Day in 1948. Now, he shows up in Albany with Martha, and they check into a hotel as Mr. and Mrs. Fernandez. They were not married, not legally. So then the next day, he shows up at Janet's house with some flowers. And they hang out, for the day. He's like talking, he's laying on the religion, like really thick and everything. Now, he kind of like primed the pump for a few days. And then a few days later, like he introduced her to Martha, who he called his sister. So the three of them like kind of go around, like, eating dinner out, like, doing fun stuff around the city. Janet let them sleep in her apartment, although she didn't sleep with Raymond because I guess she thought that was like improper or whatever. But Raymond and Martha slept in her apartment. So then Raymond asked Janet to marry him, and she said yes. Now, so basically she had bought a different apartment for them to live in, and he convinced her to go around cleaning out all of her bank accounts. So in early 1949, she goes around, she gets it like $6,000, like back in 1949 money, which was like quite a bit. So then Raymond is like, okay, well, you have all the money now. Let's move somewhere else. Let's move out of Albany. So they end up leaving Albany and going to Long Island. Now, apparently so Martha is still with them at this point. So they're at this apartment in Long Island, and Raymond falls asleep, and apparently, I don't know, like no one really knows what happened at this stage, like between Martha and Janet, because Raymond was asleep. So he left the two women like in the apartment, and Martha later said, I was just burning up with jealousy and anger. She said that she got up and she saw that Janet had gone into Raymond's room and was like laying in the bed with him. Now, Martha said that she was naked, but I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what Martha is saying. So she's already pissed at this point because she thinks that he's paying too much attention to this other woman. So Martha and Janet get into this big fight. Janet says, I won't allow you to live with us. You're the most brazen bitch I've ever seen. That's what the quote was. Damn. So they have a big argument. Like Raymond is awake at this point. So then Raymond says to Martha, keep this woman quiet. I don't care what you do. Now, Martha later said that she blacked out conveniently and did not remember exactly what happened. She said that when she came to again, that Janet's body was laying at her feet and she was bleeding from a severe head wound.
I don't believe that
She had been bludgeoned with a hammer.
Yeah, she fucking beat that woman with a hammer.
Yeah.
She remembered it. She still want to say it.
Yeah. So, like I said, that's what she said at trial. She said, oh, well, he just yelled at me, and it's like, then I don't remember what happened. Yeah, I just woke up, and she was laying on the floor with blood coming out of her head because someone had hit her with a hammer. She had also been strangled with a scarf, which had been tied like a tourniquet around her neck.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. So apparently she said she was in some kind of trance, blah, blah, blah. It's like, so the two of them like cleaned up They wrapped the body like up in sheets and stuff, and then put it in a closet, and then kind of just went to bed, like with the body in the closet. The next day, they go and buy a trunk, and they put the body in the trunk. Then they go over to Raymond's sister's house and say, hey, we have this trunk. Can we keep it in your basement? So they put the trunk with the body in the sister's basement, and then like a little less than 2 weeks later, they come back and they get the trunk, and then they rent a house, and then they put it in the cellar and like cover it up with cement, right? So then they go cash all Janet's checks, and they typed a bunch of letters to her family saying that she was fine. She had, this new husband she has is awesome, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to go to Florida, and then sent the letters to all of her family.
Covered up with cement. Do you have any idea what the fuck they're talking about?
No.
Okay.
I don't. They just put it in. I guess I don't know. They just like put it under the floor in this like fucking cellar in this rented house.
Okay, they put it underneath the floor and they covered it with cement.
I think so. That's kind of what that's from what I read. That sounds like what they did.
I wonder if that would actually keep the smell in.
I guess it would depend on what kind of cement it was. If there was any air cracks or anything like that. I guess it would just
keep the gases trapped in there.
Yeah.
They would kind of pressurize a little bit. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but I'm just wondering if that would...
Just in case, I just...
No, because there have been guys, in the past that have fucking kept dead girlfriends inside trunks, wrapped in plastic and stuff.
Yeah, that is strangely
common. And it wasn't until
common.
Years later that the body was found kind of mummified.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how badly that shit stank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Did it stink for a long time? Just that morbid curiosity of me.
Yeah, it is something you could wonder about.
I don't understand how motherfuckers...
And maybe no one was living in this house, so no one noticed. If it was down in the cellar and it was under cement, and if the neighbors didn't smell it, then I guess no one would smell it.
And maybe if it was... But see, a body weighs a lot. When it starts to decompose, the smell's fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
Especially in hot weather.
Yep.
Maybe if it's real cold, it decomposes a lot more slowly, so the smell isn't that... No, I'm not buying all that. That shit's got to stink.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But so...
How could somebody stay in a damn house with that stink?
Well, like I said, the house might have been empty because they rented it particularly for that purpose. Because they had just stolen a bunch of money, so...
How long did they rent that house?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But yeah, so they just hid the body. Now, interestingly, because they had typed the letters, her family, Janet's family, knew that she couldn't type. So they immediately kind of got suspicious and reported it to the police and stuff. Mm-hmm. So Martha and Raymond left. They went to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where their next victim was, their next target. Now, this was a widow. She was only 41 years old. Her name was Delphine Downing, and she also had a 2-year-old kid named Raynell. Now, Raymond had actually been going under a pseudonym for this particular scam. He was known as Charles Martin. Again, this is the same kind of thing that he told Martha, that he was in the import-export business and he was very successful, yada, yada. So he basically had kind of been grooming this one particular victim for a while, and since they had killed this one woman, they're like, okay, well, she lives in Grand Rapids, so we're just going to go to Grand Rapids and we'll just kind of turn up there and get that scam working. So they write to Delphine, and, she says, okay, sure, come on out here. And he's like, hey, is it okay if I bring my sister Martha? And she said, fine. So she kind of so Raymond and Delphine get into a sexual relationship. Martha obviously did not like this very much. The funny thing about this, and like I said, a lot of this is from a long time ago. So a lot of this, I guess, is from later reports and later, things that people said at the trial. Apparently, Delphine had been fucking this guy for a while, but she didn't know that he wore a hairpiece because he was kind of bald and he had that big scar on his head.
Yeah.
From the head injury. And apparently she walked in the bathroom one morning and saw him without his hairpiece on.
She's like,
and apparently that cooled her on the whole sexual.
Yeah, she's like, no.
She was like, no. Well, because she thought that he was being deceptive. Right, I think that's what it was. I don't think it was just oh my God, what an uggo. I think it was just kind of well, you didn't tell me any of this beforehand. So she was shocked. So, yeah.
She couldn't tell. That must have been a hell of a hairpiece.
I guess. Well, maybe back in those days you didn't really. Maybe you didn't think
People
of it. I don't
savvy
know.
To that kind of shit.
I guess not.
I've never seen a hairpiece that convinced me.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is fucked up.
Today's version of the hairpiece is just to fucking shave all that shit off and fucking grow a Fu Manchu mustache, that shit around there like that. You know, that one like that. That's today's hairpiece.
Well, like I said, I do feel like it looks better.
Look, just fucking bald.
Just being bald.
Just go ahead and
I mean,
fucking be
depending
bald.
on what your head looks like. Some people don't look good bald, but it's like...
It's also, you know what else it depends on? Your fucking musculature.
Yeah.
A big muscular guy bald fucking looks a lot better than a fat motherfucker who's bald.
Or like a real thin,
real
like
thin.
a tall, thin guy.
I mean, look at The
like
Rock.
that. Yeah.
I don't consider The Rock to be a bald guy.
Yeah.
But that motherfucker doesn't have any hair. He's bald as fuck.
Well, you don't consider
You don't
a
think
guy
of it.
bald unless they have like the classic like
Right.
middle-aged man like
Yeah.
kind of ring of hair
Yeah.
around here.
But you look at fucking... Like, when I think of The Rock, I kind of forget that he's bald.
Yeah.
He doesn't come across as a bald guy.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you
like
look
I
at
said,
a
'cause he's not
photograph of him
bald
and
like
that
that.
motherfucker's bald.
Well, yeah, he's bald as shit.
But when you're that big, you're still just handsome as fuck.
Yeah.
That's a handsome fucking man. I'm man crushing like crazy on fucking The Rock. I saw him on that Jumanji, that last one, Jumanji 2. That was a good movie if you guys haven't seen that. And I'm looking at The Rock and I'm going, man, me and The Rock are the same age. That motherfucker looks so much better than me, man. That motherfucker looks good. Yeah, he's a good looking guy.
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like he's gigantic.
He's a fucking warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like some kind of Polynesian, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he looks good. Yeah.
He does, yeah, but he's like a very large.
That's the only non-white guy that could be Superman. To me, Superman always, Clark, fucking Christopher Reeves is fucking Superman.
I can't. Yeah, it's hard for me to see anyone else
Yeah.
as Superman.
And then you have some of these fucking new people, in the scene. They're all like, well, you can race swap anything. You know what I mean? Superman's a fake character. He can be any color. No, fucking Superman is Jewish. You got to read between the fucking lines. That is the kid who drew Superman and came up with that was a Jewish kid, run from fucking Germany.
Yeah.
Running from the Nazis. The homeland destroyed. And he's now a new Superman in the new world to save mankind.
Yeah.
It goes back to all that. It is a Jewish story.
Yeah.
Even the name, Kal-El and Jor-El and all that. These are all having to do with fucking Judaism, It comes from El.
Yeah.
God. Sky God. It's a sky god.
Although
God.
I would argue that if you have a fictional character, after a certain point in time, it's kind of like, particularly when it's popular as Superman, it's not really your character anymore. So it's like people can like do different spins on it.
You can,
I'm not bothered.
I know deep in my heart that Superman's Jewish.
Yeah.
He's like an idealized Jewish character, kind of that damn Greco-Roman. He's a Greco kind of fucking Greek fucking statue, face, pale skin, black hair. You know what I mean? Fucking, he's a mixture of fucking super strong and super smart and good-hearted and shit. It is a Jewish character. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that it's
Yeah.
like, but after a certain...
But the only non-white, and you can say, well, a lot of Jews go, I'm not white. Man, whatever, dude. You know what I mean? Fucking, I know what I see. The only non-white person that could ever be Superman, and people in the fucking audience might agree or disagree. I don't give a shit. The Rock could play Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Boy, you could tell I'm drunk when we're going on to a side. This is,
I haven't even got through the first
Hadn't
case
even got
yet.
to the first case. They keep going through this getting side.
That's what I mean. It's like, this is what it's like. We have to go soon. It's
We
like
gotta
I'm
go.
trying
Come
to,
on.
like, you know what I mean.
I know.
I might have to
the
get.
club.
I was gonna do 4 sets of couples. Now I might
It's
only
not
have
gonna
to.
happen.
Now I might only have to do 2 because
It's not
you
gonna
keep
happen.
going off on all these tangents, and I can't even get through one case. I can't even get through
Now,
one
I've been
case.
quiet for a long time, though.
I can't even get through one case.
All right. I've been quiet for a long time.
Yeah. So, So where was I? Okay. So, like I said, so Delphine gets mad at seeing his baldness and is like, hey, you misrepresented yourself. Martha is kind of like, she's still pissed off about this because they're having sex and everything, but it's like she's kind of like seeing how this is going to play out. She told Delphine, hey, why don't you take some sleeping pills to chill out? Which Delphine did, okay. So Delphine like goes to sleep, I guess, and then she had a baby. Like I said, she had a 2-year-old kid named Raynell. Raynell starts to cry, And Martha picks up the kid and starts choking her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a 2-year-old girl.
Right.
So she picks her up and starts choking her because she's making too much noise. Now, Raymond says, hey, you know, if Delphine wakes up and sees what you're doing, she's going to go to the police and we're busted. So Martha says, we'll do something about it. So Raymond basically goes in the room, gets a gun, and shoots Delphine in the head while she's sleeping.
Right.
In front of the 2-year-old kid who is like just sitting there.
Damn.
So
I forgot, this is her kid, right?
No, this is Delphine's kid. This is the victim's kid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was her kid.
Yeah.
She got shot in the head. Damn.
Yeah.
Although that kid's 2, I mean, you know.
Well,
Their
worse shit is going to happen.
Okay.
So they wrap Delphine's body up, take it down to the basement. You know, they dig a hole because I guess the basement in this place had a dirt floor, so they, you know, kind of covered it up. Then covered the grave with cement. So they're in this house. There's a body in the basement that they have buried and put cement over. They still have the 2-year-old girl. She is still there. She obviously was upset because she didn't know where her mother was. She wouldn't eat. She kept crying all the time. You know, so fucking Raymond and Martha, they like looted the house. They took all the valuables. They like took all this woman's money and shit like that. Then finally, Raymond's, after 2 days, he's kind of tells Martha, he's like, okay, well, we have to get rid of this kid. Right? Yeah. So Martha didn't want to do it. But after a while, she's kind of like, well, what else am I going to do? It's like she's already been party to a couple of murders. It's like she's afraid that he's going to leave her and all this other kind of crap. So basically, they took like a fucking tub and filled it up with water and she drowned the kid in it.
Damn.
And then buried the kid.
So he made her do it?
Yeah.
Damn.
In the basement. And she did it. So they drowned a baby.
Yeah.
And buried it next to the mother.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Yeah. And the shitty...
These people are awesome.
Right? And it's like, so after they did
really
that, you know what
people.
they did after they did that? They went to the movies.
Oh, yeah. Try to forget about it.
They went and go see a movie, got some popcorn, shit like that.
Yeah.
Sat there watching a fucking movie. Holy crap, man. So these two assholes get back from the movies and apparently good on their neighbors because the neighbors had gotten suspicious because they heard, I guess, like some weird noise or something like that coming from next door. So they called the cops. So when Martha and Raymond got back from the movies, there were cops on their doorstep. Now, they got questioned. Now, it seems like since I guess they knew that they had left a lot of evidence behind. They didn't really seem like they had covered their tracks all that well. So pretty much as soon as they got arrested, they pretty much were like, yeah, we did that shit. And like confessed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not really entirely sure why. Now, what they were trying to do, because they got caught in Michigan, they were actually thought that if they confessed in Michigan, then they would get put in prison there because they wanted to be in prison in Michigan because there was no death penalty. Like they didn't want to get sent back to New York to be extradited to New York because they had the death penalty still. And so they were trying to like kind of wangle their way out of it because Martha was like, she didn't want to get put in the electric chair or whatever. So they gave them like a lot of stories about how, hey, if you cooperate, this, that, and the other thing, like you'll get out of it. So basically they pretty much just, you know, gave everything up and said what they had been up to. You know, not surprisingly, the press dubbed this the Lonely Hearts murder case since that was how they found most of their victims. Also, not surprisingly, the press really leaned in hard on calling Martha a fatso. So that was nice. You know what I mean? Sold
newspapers.
It did, yeah. And everything, it you know, I guess it had like a lot of really salacious details in the sense that, you know, here is like a couple. They weren't legally married, but they were kind of like a couple and were going around preying on other women. So there was like a lot of, you know, speculation about like who's sleeping with what and was there threesomes and all this other kind of shit. Plus, like I said, because Martha was overweight, you know, they called her stuff like Big Martha and the giggling divorcee and 200-pound figure of wrath. Said one of the fucking papers. So pretty much everything that was written about them at this time, like, had to mention, like, how fat she was. And some of them had, Some of them said she weighed like 300 pounds. Stuff like it wasn't. It was more like 230 pounds.
Yeah.
Which is still a lot, but it's like, you know what I mean? She had a glandular condition. So, so there was this whole thing where even though Raymond, he had been like kind of reluctant to get involved with Martha, right? Because it's like when she first like turned up and he found out she didn't have as much money and he was just kind of like, yeah, bye. And he like took off, but then she kind of like chased after him and followed him. And then he was like, okay, well, you can be my accomplice or whatever. So I don't really know how into her he was. Like, I think they did have a sexual relationship and she was obviously very jealous, like every time they, you know, found another victim and stuff. But I don't know, but it seemed really weird. Like once they were both convicted, which they were, he kind of went on about how much he loved her and blah, blah, and he was like trying to protect her and all this other kind of stuff. I don't know. It's like maybe he was just trying to be like...
He was just trying to look sympathetic.
He was just, I think he was just trying to be like not a monster type of thing. So, you know, the whole fucking thing about the trial, it was like this big, huge fucking circus about it and everything.
I did it all for her.
Yeah, it did, and it seemed like, and they and she was like the same with him. It's like, oh, I would have done anything for him, and yada yada. So it was kind of like this whole thing where he was like trying to get her off. He's like, oh, I'll confess to this if you guys let her go, and blah blah blah. So like I said, he did like confess to pretty much everything, and she backed the fucking story up. So basically, you know, like I said, there was this huge fucking deal at the trial. They both, you know, testified on their own behalf and everything. They tried to paint themselves as more sympathetic, but apparently it didn't work. The jury, for a while, it took them a while, like, to go through the deliberation because 11 of them were just like, yeah, fucking hang them, which I don't even want to deal with it. But one of the jurors was kind of like, he wasn't sure about Martha's mental state and maybe she wasn't as culpable as he was and all this other stuff. So there was like a lot of arguing going on there. But apparently the other 11 jurors finally convinced him. It's like, look, can we just like not? And we're just going to get rid of all these people. So they were actually both sentenced to death. So as afraid as she was of the electric chair, she did actually end up going to the electric chair. The crazy thing about this was that I didn't know that they used to do this. I thought that if it was your day to go to the chair or whatever, that was like only you, like your day. But apparently they electrocuted Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck on the same day. And there were 2 other criminals convicted on that same day too, like before. Like in the morning, like they're like, okay, well, we'll fry this guy and then this guy, and so then we're gonna fry. Lined up, ready to go. Yeah, and it's like I was like, that's messed up. It's like, you know what I mean? It's
well,
like,
it makes sense because that way you have everybody there to do it, and you have all the fucking equipment you need, and the press is there.
I mean, it makes sense. It's more like efficient.
Let's get rid of 20 of them at once.
I know it's fucked up.
Yeah,
but it's like, yeah, that definitely does seem like a more. I was just like, I guess I never heard of that happening before because usually when you hear about. You know, because if you're on death row, it usually takes so long, like, to go through the process that it's usually just, like, one guy, and it's like, that's his day to get...
If you're gonna fire up old Sparky, man, fucking, you know, take a bunch of people out at once.
I guess so.
I guess that's how it went.
But, yeah, this was at
Make a day of it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And it's like, it was just so weird to me to read that. It was just like a detail that stuck out. So this is like at Sing Sing, by the way, where they both got electrocuted. So yeah, they were both electrocuted for their fucking crimes. And probably rightfully so, because this really does seem like I said, this is another case where probably their pasts, you know, his head injury obviously seemed to contribute quite a bit to the man he became later on, because by all accounts he was, you know, a normal dude, like, before that happened, and then afterward, like, his personality had completely changed. And she seemed to have not only the glandular problem that made her overweight, which made her the target of bullying, but also, you know, sexual molestation by her family. It does seem like she didn't have the best family life. And it does seem like she had a lot of, like, self-loathing that would make her susceptible to someone coming along like this.
It's a natural
like Raymond
disaster.
Fernandez. Yeah, and it definitely does seem like that. But I found this, like, really interesting, this dynamic between the two of them. It's like, it's really kind of like a sad fucking story, man. And it's sad for the victims as well, because it's like all these women that had written into these fucking, you know, Lonely Hearts columns, like kind of hoping to find some dude that would love them, and then this fucking douche shows up and with his girlfriend and is like, hey, I'm gonna take all your money and then I'm gonna beat you in the head with a hammer and kill your kid, bye. That's like fucking that's just like horrible.
Those ads were always sketchy. Even back in the 70s and 80s when
I know it's like the Craigslist of the 1940s.
Yeah.
It's like no good ever comes of it. And even back then people knew that, because like I said, the one woman that they killed, Janet Faye, it's like even her family had been like, hey, maybe don't like answer ads from that, because it's like that's some sketchy. But so even back then, like, people knew that.
Remember back in the 80s and 90s, they had those damn dating services where it was kind of like a video rental club where people would make videos of themselves at the,
I remember seeing commercials for that.
Man, they have they have like a whole genre of videos of all that shit that's leaked over the time from the 80s where you can go see them, and how cringy that shit was.
Yeah.
I had no idea that dating services were that cringy, but it was fucking ridiculous. Guys putting on big old peacock shows and saying ridiculous shit, trying to get women to date them and everything, fucking dressing up, and it's all fucking like losers. It's like sad sacks and shit.
I was just watching a video this morning that just came up in my recommended feed.
Yeah.
And it was a guy that was making fun of a pickup artist, like a video of a pickup artist like convention or like a class.
Yeah.
That I guess people pay for classes like that.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And
I've
it's
seen
like,
those on YouTube,
and so this guy was like making fun of it. And this like class, it was hilarious because I guess she had a girl there, and I guess that they had paid her to be there as like the victim or whatever. So like this guy so the guy could like show off his like technique.
Yeah.
And it's funny because apparently even though she got paid to be there, she was not having it. And she just like basically just called the guy a creep to his face, and she just laughed at him, and it's just like, it was really, really funny. And at one point she even like turned to the audience and was like, are you guys learning anything? And someone out in the audience was like, no.
You can't, look, let me tell you. Let me tell you people, okay, to you dudes out there.
It's hilarious.
I've had some good looking girlfriends. All you gotta do is just look at my fucking feeds and my life, and fucking Jenny can attest. Jenny's a beautiful fucking girl. I went out with nothing but good-looking women. I'm not a pickup artist. Not at all. It was easy. Because I was just acting like myself. And I wasn't really looking for anything. And they come to you. And you become friends with them. You can pick up certain kind of girls in the way that I've seen those little things, like those demonstrations and those. You don't want that one.
Yeah.
If you can pick her up that way, you don't want her.
Well, yeah, because she's obviously
got motives. She's got her own motives too. Okay.
Well, and that also.
She's got her own motives too. That's not how it goes down. You go into a scene, you make a good reputation for yourself. You're friends with everybody, and they gravitate towards you.
Well, I think that what a lot of dudes don't, and this is actually, it's kind of sad because. People. Yeah, it's kind of sad because, one, I feel like these type of incel dudes that would pay for this type of class.
Yeah, you've already lost.
You've lost not only your money, you've lost your dignity, you've lost any chance of getting a woman to ever love you. But you know what I mean? I'm just saying that I think the problem is they see women as a different species almost, or that there's some like trick you can do to like tap into our brains or something. I'm not really sure where they're coming from. Also, a lot of them seem like they're just like a hair away from being rapists, which is a little scary. But also, they don't really seem to see women as just a person with the same feelings as them or the same. Like, they don't really seem to see it like that. They just they're very goal oriented, and I don't think that's a good. You're just using that person as an object to get what you want. You don't care what they want.
They used to have some YouTube channel I used to watch. It was fucking hilarious. It was some guy from India, and he was kind of like a pickup artist, and he was I think it was India. It might have been Pakistan or some shit like that. India or Pakistan. He goes into Europe, and he's like fucking picking up. He's got himself on video picking up all these damn European girls. Using a bunch of damn flim-flam and stuff, That's not real. He was really doing it, I think.
Although you could fake that pretty easy.
You could fake it too. That's not real life, and that's not really how it goes down. Women see through everything you do. If you're a man, women see through it.
We're a lot smarter than y'all.
Yeah,
just stop it.
If the woman falls for that shit, it's because she has ulterior motives.
Right.
Women are also predators.
Yes, we are.
So
that's something dudes don't seem to understand.
No.
We have our own reasons for doing shit.
You can't trick women. They fucking see a guy coming. Don't even fucking try. That's what
I mean.
You can only work with women. You can't trick them. If you think you're tricking a woman, yes, you're tricking yourself.
We know every single
just
fucking
like
trick
this
in the book.
Woman with this dude and everything. She was getting something that she didn't have. She probably saw herself as fucking conniving him.
She may have, yeah.
But, when people have different points of view. But, no.
Do you know what this guy was trying to do? Like, I know all about negging. I know what that is, where you, like, go up and, like, kind of, like, low-key, like, backhanded compliment / insult a woman. And then that's supposed to, like, knock her value down so she feels like she has to impress you. Something like that. So his first thing was he asked her, what would you rather have, OCD or ADHD? That was like his opening pickup line. If somebody was at a bar, like, and I've had some like really sad like pickup attempts before in bars. Yeah. But if somebody came up to me in a bar and said that, I think I would just like look at them. And if they like persisted in like talking to me, I think I would just hit them in the face.
Me and Jenny would be hanging out. This is before we were a couple. We'd be hanging out and dudes would come up and try to fucking do these lines on her. And fucking she'd look at me and we'd just start snickering at how fucking pitiful that shit was.
It is. It's the saddest fucking shit ever.
And I might have been, and it wasn't any kind of thing low down like we were. I might have had a girlfriend at that time.
Yeah.
And it was just honest. She's looking at me and I'm looking at her like, that motherfucker's a douche, like fucking crazy. He said that. Damn.
Some of the shit's funny. I mean, like a few times I've been in situations where I thought to myself, like one time I was at a club and I think we were together at this point, but I think you were in the bathroom or you were like talking to somebody or something. Yeah. And I was like, and I was in the front and like I got surrounded by 4 guys. Yeah. And that scared me a little bit because I was just kind of like, because
was I there for that?
No, well, like I just said, you were in the bathroom or you were. So I don't know where you were.
There were some times where we weren't together, but I still kind of had to protect her. I'd have to shoo dudes away.
Well, it was scary because
I knew that she wasn't going to.
These 4 guys, like, and I'm just like sitting there smoking because I used to smoke back then. But so I'm just sitting there smoking. I was waiting for you actually. Yeah. And I'm just like sitting there, and these 4 guys, and they're like surrounding me like this, and I'm just like, oh shit, here we go, and like basically, I was just like, fuck off. I don't feel like it. Because I don't like try to be nice to dudes. If dudes just come up and there's like, hey, I'm just like, yeah, fuck off. I don't want to talk to you. Because that seems to be the only thing that they understand. But even then, you have to watch because a lot of them will get very hostile. Right. And that's kind of what happened in this situation. And there were 4 of them. Like, I was like, basically, like, man, fuck off. I don't want to talk to you. I'm waiting for somebody. Yeah, and they would not leave. And I'm like, seriously, look at my face. I was like, leave. I do not want to talk to you. And they would not leave. So
Jenny was only going to go out with like some cool goth dudes from the scene who were already well established. These just random motherfuckers just can't come up and do that. There was times where I was just like, no, dude, fuck out of here. Because you know what I mean? You remember when that kind of shit was going on?
Well, it's like, what would I have in common with that person?
Like, dude, get the fuck out of here.
What would I have in common with that person?
I know.
It's, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't know anything about me. Right. You don't know anything. It's like, what? You just see boobs or you see like a guy. Because there is a certain type of normal dude. Yeah. Like frat boy type dude that has like a goth chick fetish. We see it a lot.
Yeah. And
we are very over
goth
that.
Girls see that a mile away.
Well, it's very common.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that happen, like, even when I was, like, fat and ugly, like, back in the old days.
You were never fat and ugly.
I'm just saying, well, like, so I had that happen when I was younger. It's like you get, like, frat dudes. It's like they see a chick with, like, black hair and, like, gothy clothes on, and it's like a fetish type of thing. Yeah. Or they think that you're a slut. I'm not sure what it is. It's probably a combination of both things. Yeah. But yeah, so probably we should take a break. It's been going on for a long time. Here's the thing, like we were talking about this earlier. I was going to do like 4 cases on this show.
I'm going like Jenny.
But since we have already gone on so long, I think I'm just going to cut 2 out and we'll just like do 2. So when we come back,
I don't know where she gets this shit because
we did 4 cases on the other Valentine's Day show.
Yeah, we probably skimmed through it real quick. A case is about 2 hours or 2.5 hours. You said 4, and I'm thinking, wait, this is going to be an 8-hour show?
I hope not.
To cover a real case is 2 hours. I'd save that shit for another show. Did you want to go out tonight or what?
Yeah, we probably will.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do one more case when we come back from the break.
Right.
I'll try to keep it shorter than this one, and hopefully we won't go off on as many tangents as we did this time.
She's talking shit.
So I can actually... I said we. I didn't just say you.
She's putting that shit on me.
Even though it's mostly you.
Okay.
But... We'll talk about one more case when we come back from the break, and hopefully you guys won't be too disappointed that I had to leave some shit out. But yeah, it's as long as we have a few hours worth of content.
As long as we got a 3-hour show and it's good, it's all right.
It's fucking fine, yeah. So we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we will talk about yet another killer couple on our Valentine's Day special. So we will be back in just a few minutes.
Hey, Beijing. Are you hiding from the vacuum cleaner? Yeah. It can't get you up there, I promise. Poor little girl. She always hides up there when Daddy runs the vacuum cleaner. She's afraid it's gonna eat her. Aw, on top of Mommy's desk. They're going to be a battle for the cat tree. You going to try and get up there, Pook? Beijing's in your bowl. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What's up? What's up? Beijing's not having it. No.
You love true crime. I love true crime. And I've spent the last 3 years compiling a series of the most intriguing unsolved murders of the 20th century. It's called The Faceless Villain, and Volume 3 is available now. Featuring such fascinating cases as the Ketty murders, the Carrie Babies case, the Frog Boys, the Alcasar murders, and the Inokashira Park dismemberment incident, The Faceless Villain, Volume 3 is an involving exploration of unsolved slayings spanning the years from 1980 to 1999. Pick up your copy in print or ebook formats on Amazon, or download the audiobook version from audible.com, and get ready for a chilling journey through modern crime history. All right, we are back from the break on this Valentine's Day special. As I said earlier, I was actually planning on covering 4 different couples on the show and had notes to match. However, because we are going on for such a damn long time, I decided to cut it short. We'll just talk about one more couple on this show, and hopefully the show isn't 5 hours long. Well, I never know how shit's gonna go, so I always like to have a lot of notes in case.
Those other cases we can do on another Valentine's Day.
We'll have to do them next year.
Because you did the research already.
Yeah, that's true.
Just file.
Although by the time next year comes, we'll
make them regular shows. We can make them regular shows, too.
I could do a different thing. So let's talk about this other case. As I said, I cut out a couple of the ones, but let's keep this one because this one's a fucking doozy. This is the case of David and Catherine Birnie. Now, this is the very rare case of a serial killer couple, husband and wife serial killing team. This was from Perth, Western Australia, and most of their crimes occurred in the mid to late 1980s. So let's talk a little bit about their childhoods and then how they ended up meeting each other and shit like that. So David Birnie was actually the oldest of 6 children. His parents were actually very poor, kind of lived in squalor. They were both also alcoholics. And for much of their childhood, him and his siblings' childhood, they were kind of taken away from their parents periodically by, the Australian equivalent of Child Protective Services. So, not a great home life there. By the time that the murders occurred, apparently David Birnie's mother was living in this horrible, apartment that was, just covered with dust and grime, and no one ever cleaned anything or anything like that. His dad also died in 1986. Now, David actually had met Catherine, who would later become his partner in serial killing crime, when they were both children because they lived next door to one another. Catherine's home life when she was a child was also not super happy. Her mom died when she was a baby. She was less than a year old. And she was actually sent to live with her father in South Africa, When she was 2 years old, she was sent back to Australia, and she moved in with her grandparents. Now, she was kind of a kid where apparently she was, I don't know if it was because the death of her mother, because that was just like her personality type or anything like that, but she was like very kind of like sad, not a real like outgoing child or anything like that. And for whatever reason, I guess maybe because she was poor, or maybe she seemed like kind of a bummer, other kids in the neighborhood were kind of like not allowed to play with her. So she was kind of like a loner. So that's kind of how that went. So the two of them, like I said, they kind of, made an acquaintance as children, as kind of two like-minded, lonely people. And then they kind of like drifted apart, but they actually ended up meeting again in their late teens. Now, in the meantime, David had already had a lot of like juvenile offenses, mostly minor shit. Now, in the early 1960s, he looked like he might actually kind of maybe be along the lines of maybe getting a career or a job or something like that. He started training as an apprentice jockey. However,
like a horse jockey?
Yeah, like a horse jockey. Now, he apparently enjoyed it, but I guess, and I've seen I watched a documentary about these two, and they talked to some people that worked at the stable, I guess, where he worked. And they said, yeah, it's like he was real. They basically just gave him a job to give him a job, because I guess as a kid he was kind of like real thin and like sickly and stuff. And
he must have been tiny.
Yeah, so they didn't think that he would do. Although when I've seen pictures of him when he was an adult, he looked like pretty regular size, or maybe even a little bit tall.
Here in the United States, professional horse jockeys are tiny.
You have to be really, really small.
Yeah.
And what's funny the lighter the better.
And what's funny is that they even have coming from out of the horse industry, my family and everything, but they also have their own groupies. There's a certain kind of groupie that goes after the damn 5 foot tall or 4'11" fucking 80-pound fucking dudes. It's a trip. Yeah.
Well, I can see that.
I mean, they're not 80. Maybe some might be 80 pounds.
Yeah, it was like 80 pounds. That'd be pretty small.
Some might be about 100 pounds, 110 pounds. Little bitty guys.
Yeah. I can see how you might be into that. How some people.
Well, they make a lot of money too. They're like a professional race car driver.
Yeah, but that's not like everything.
Money is power.
It is,
you
but...
You have the power to change a woman's life. If she doesn't come from anything, then,
That's true.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of like a thing where, however rich the dude is, it's like if he was like really horrible,
yeah, like
I don't think it would be worth it.
Some of those douchebags that pull up in the fucking Ferraris and shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, would it really be worth that to have to like get up and see that in your face every day? Yeah. I don't think so.
Especially here in the United States, a lot of them come from countries where fucking money doesn't mean anything anyway to them. They're born with them and fucking, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's, I just don't think, maybe it'd be worth it in the short term, but it's like how you have to put up with this person like every day. I don't know if any amount of money would be worth it.
Those dudes abuse it, man. There's not one woman in their life. There's fucking 100 of them.
Well, yeah. Because that's what they do. They overcompensate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apparently, like, the people that worked at this stable said, he might have made a good jockey if he had kind of, like, applied himself and everything like that. But apparently, even from when he was a teenager, he decided that, maybe he'd rather be a criminal, I guess. So he actually ended up getting fired from this, stable or the jockey program or wherever, when it was alleged that he had, I guess this old guy that owned a boarding house, David had like smashed their head in and took their money. So, like I said, he was already kind of starting very early. Now, apparently when this happened, David and Catherine were still hanging out. I'm not sure if they were like a couple at this point, but they were friends at this time. So Catherine did know about all of his like criminal activities and apparently either approved of them or helped him out with them. So this is kind of one of the rare cases where I don't think it was kind of like, a woman that just kind of like got sucked into this. Yeah, I think she was kind of a little bit like that too. You know what I mean? Because it started like from a pretty young age. So both of them, after this happened, after he got fired from the stable, like they both kind of went off on this little like crime spree.
Sounds like natural born killer.
Robbery and shit. Yeah, it is a little bit like that, except a lot more fucked up. They actually ended up getting arrested in June of 1969, and they got convicted of 11 counts of breaking and entering and, theft. So they, at this stage, I think Catherine was pregnant, but by someone else, not him. They also admitted that they had stolen like a bunch of like an oxyacetylene torch, and they had tried to like break into a safe at a drive-in theater.
Like the drive-in theater
Like
has a
the
bunch of
drive-in
movies.
theater has a maybe back then it did. I don't know. It was like so since she was pregnant, she got put on probation. David went to jail for 9 months. Now a month later, I guess they were convicted of some other, like they had some other like charges pending. They actually pleaded guilty to those. David ended up getting 3 years added to his sentence, and Catherine got put on probation again for another 4 years. Now in June of 1970, David breaks out of the prison that he was in and finds Catherine again. They got caught a little less than a month later and got 53 counts: stealing, receiving stolen property, breaking and entering, various other things, unlawfully driving motor vehicles, unlawfully using vehicles. It's just like all these different laws.
Bunch of petty shit.
Yeah. Now, when police searched through their stuff, they found they had a whole bunch of different clothes, a whole bunch of different wigs. They had some like food they had stolen, radios, like they had 100 sticks of gelignite, 120 detonators, and 3 fuses.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what exactly they were planning on blowing up, but they were clearly planning on blowing up something.
Probably had these weird delusions like blowing up safes and blowing walls out and
That's
stuff.
kind of what I felt
But
like.
that kind of stuff that they're talking about is usually used for like blowing up blowing stumps out of the ground. And
I think they thought they were Bonnie and Clyde
Yeah.
at this point. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
going around the country like it was some kind of romantic thing. We're going to go around blowing up safes and
yeah, it
we're
doesn't.
going to be like criminals. Hey, come get me, copper. I feel like it was that kind of
Yeah, blowing up safes doesn't work.
thing. Yeah, no.
Yeah, cracking safes, that's something else, but blowing them up, no.
So basically, she said, so they get all this they get all these charges against them. Catherine has gone on record as saying at this particular trial that, her and David, they were like in love and she would do anything for him and stuff like that, which would apparently turn out to be true later on. At this stage, David gets sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. Catherine only gets 6 months. Now, she had the baby at this point, but it was taken away from her by the welfare, workers, and they held on to it for her until she got out. Now, at this point, because David was in jail and she had got out and she had a new baby, it almost seemed like at this stage, she might have had a normal life because she was away from him for a while. She had a kid. Then she actually went and got a job. She got a job as like a live-in nanny for this one family. So when she was like working as a nanny, the son of the family, whose name was Donald McLaughlin, he fell in love with her and asked her to marry him. So they got married in 1972, and she was 21 at this point. And they would end up having a further 6 children together. So she had 1 kid by somebody else. I don't think it was David. I think it was some other dude that had knocked her up. But her and her husband Donald ended up having like 6 children together. And it did like seem like shit was going to be normal for a time. Because like I said, at this point, David Birnie was still in jail. However, and some people have said that, and I watched a documentary about these two, and somebody pointed out this was probably like a big turning point. The first little boy that she had, whose name was Little Donnie, like after his father, he was, I think he was only 6 months old or 7 months old. And he was like, someone was at their house visiting them, and the little kid was in the driveway and someone backed over him.
Damn.
Like with the car, and it happened like right in front of her.
Killed him?
So yeah. So she saw her baby get run over in the driveway of her house, and everybody said that like messed her up big time, as it would, which is understandable. So even though these two were married for a long time, it wasn't a super happy marriage. At some point, the husband became unemployed. They had 6 kids. Catherine's dad and uncle also ended up moving in there with them, and she kind of had to take care of all of these people. Yeah. Unsurprisingly, she just said fuck it, and she didn't want to clean the house anymore, which, can't blame her for that. They didn't have a lot of money. So it was kind of like, not a good situation. Now, it turned out that David had got out of jail in the interim, and for 2 years, her and David actually had an illicit adulterous affair while she was married to this other person. And finally, she was just like, forget it. I'm just like getting out of this marriage. So she called her husband and said, okay, well, I'm getting back together with David, so bye. Take care of your shit. So, so she moves back in with David Birnie. They had been apart at this stage for 13 years. Now, they never actually married officially, but I guess there's a thing where she actually ended up taking his last name, so I guess they were like common law married. So it's like
they have that married.
I know they have that, like some states and like some. This is Australia.
Yeah,
so,
we're probably pushing that, me and you, at this point.
Well, Florida does not have common law.
Oh, they don't.
No, some states do, because my sister used to live in Colorado, and I think they are 7 years, and so her and her husband were. Common law married, but even though they did officially do it later, but they're not married anymore. But
You've been checking up on laws on me, haven't you? You've been checking up on the law.
No, I just know that because for various things. But some states do have it. Like it's usually 7 years, but but Florida doesn't have it. So she actually ended up changing her name to his last name. Now there was a lot of weird shit going on in this household from the very beginning. Now David Birnie apparently had one of those, and you see this in a lot of serial killers also. Had a sexually insatiable sexual appetite. He basically had to have sex several times a day. Always wanted variety, shit like that. Said he had like the house full of porn. Apparently his younger brother, who ended up staying with the couple for a while, like he was in prison too. So it's not a happy family, like I said. The brother was actually in prison for indecently interfering with his 6-year-old niece. And he later told the authorities that the 6-year-old led him on.
Yeah, she did it. Yeah.
So you can see what kind of people you're dealing with here.
He blamed her. Yeah, well, she did it.
And this is the brother of the serial killer.
Right.
So, like I said, this is
These
not
are real
a good
winners
situation. Yeah. So this brother ends up, after he gets out of prison, he didn't have anywhere to go, so he ends up going and staying with David and Catherine. Now. So the brother, whose name was James, he said that, even though he was no winner either, he said David wasn't super great. It's like they had all these like fights. It's like that David and Catherine weren't real happy about him being there. Like David threatened to kill him on several occasions. He also said that David was super, super into kinky sex, had a huge like porn collection, said he had to have sex 4 or 5 times a day. And this is kind of special, and don't really want to know how he knew this, but the brother said, I saw him use a hypodermic of that stuff you have when they're going to put stitches in your leg. So like an anesthetic. Right. It makes you numb. He put the needle in his penis. Yeah. Then he had sex. David has had many women. He always has someone. So he's like putting anesthetic, like injecting anesthetic.
He's watching his brother do that.
Yeah, so the younger brother is saying that he saw this happen. I'm like, so that's how it is in their family? That's some weird shit going on.
That's some weird shit.
Yeah. So apparently this kind of shit wasn't doing it for David anymore. So in 1986, David and Catherine decided that they're going to start killing people. Because that's the next thing you do, I guess. Yeah. Apparently they had done everything that they wanted to do together, and now they're looking for some new excitement. Going to spice up the relationship by going and fucking murdering innocent people. Yeah. So, special happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
That's how they're going to do that.
Yeah, so that's how they're going to do it. So these two, like I said, this is not a situation where one of them was being led on by the other one. This one, it just really seems like they were both super into this shit, and they were just kind of like egging each other on. Because apparently they both knew what the score was. They're both sitting there talking about how are we going to kidnap these girls? How are we going to rape these girls? How are we going to get rid of the bodies? They like figured all this shit out ahead of time, right? He actually told her that he tells Catherine, it's like, you are going to get super intense orgasms by watching me fuck another woman who was bound and gagged at like raping another woman, that you're going to super get off on that. And she was like, yeah, sounds legit.
Yeah, of course.
So that's what
I'm not buying that shit, but that's what he sold her.
That's what he sold her. And she bought it. Oh, apparently knowing, like I said, these are intensely messed up people. So, October 6th, 1986, there's a 22-year-old student, Mary Nielsen. She turns up at their house to buy some tires for her car because apparently he was selling some. Now, she had actually, I guess she knew someone that worked with David Birnie, or she was a coworker, I'm not really sure. But she's like, well, she knew that he had like some spare parts, and she's like, hey, I need some tires for you. Can you give me a deal on some tires? And he's like, yes, of course I can do that. So, yeah. So she turns up at the house just to buy some fucking tires like you do. So, not surprisingly, she disappeared. Now, she was like I said, none of the victims, and I hate to say this because I feel like a lot of serial killers will target, prostitutes or something like that because it's easier to get away with it, I guess. David and Catherine Birnie, all of their victims, as far as I can determine, were pretty well, they were all like middle to upper class. They were all like college students or things like that. So these were people that would, immediately be reported missing. Right. You know what I mean? Because it's
he was trying to sell this to his old lady like, this shit's going to be really exciting. You're going to fucking love to see this shit. I guarantee you that shit was like watching a possum molest a damn rag doll. I bet you shit wasn't exciting at all.
I do kind of feel like that's probably how it turns out. Because, see, the thing about that type of shit is that it's always, like, way better in your head than it looks in real life. It was way better
in his head. I bet you to watch that shit, you'd be like, that was some lame shit, dude.
Yeah, I wonder if she said that. I guess not, because she kept doing this shit. So maybe she did get off on it.
No, she didn't.
I don't know. I doubt it.
If they did, they had a very low threshold. They couldn't run in our circle.
No.
Take them down there. What was that club we used to go to? Fucking.
I can't remember that.
But never mind.
Yeah. Well, it was the 80s. These are very like conventional.
Yeah. No.
I guess people.
No, they weren't even good looking. These bitches.
They never are. That's the thing.
No.
So their victim Mary was actually last seen leaving a shop on the 6th of October. Yeah, there you go.
Talking about Southern Nights, yeah.
It's a gay club, but they did like a fetish night for a while. I don't think they do it anymore.
It wasn't even a gay club. That was a tranny club.
Yeah.
But they had a good fucking, they had a goth night there, goth industrial night. Me and Jenny used to go to.
Yeah, they did like fetish shows and stuff.
A friend of ours used to run it, Dustin. And,
Destin.
Yeah, Destin ran that fucking night. We had our own night there. It was just fucking fun night.
It was, yeah.
Nothing but fucking pretty people up in that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the shows were funny.
Yeah, and some of them were porn stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you never could tell what was going to happen down there. And that was just our scene. That really, it was open to the public, but the public didn't know about it.
Yeah. Because I feel like every now and then you get somebody, it wasn't downtown, so it wasn't like somewhere it's somewhere you had to drive to.
Yeah.
It wasn't somewhere that you would just walk in, because it wasn't in a walking area.
Mm-mm.
But, so, I have some interesting pictures of us from...
They had me eating out of a damn cat box.
That's right. And see, that's why you didn't know what a fucking litter box cake was. Because I'm like, what do you think that was that I took the pictures of you eating out of? That's essentially what that was.
They had a show going on, all these contests, and fucking they had this fake fucking cat litter box. It was just a fucking cat litter box filled with fucking Cocoa Puffs.
It was Tootsie Rolls and Rice Krispies.
Rice Krispies. And
it looked gross, though.
Yeah, and chocolate pudding in there.
Yeah.
Like cat shit. And fucking had to eat through there as fast as you could.
Yeah.
To find something. I won some prizes.
Yeah, you would win stuff. You'd win like, like bar gift cards or like handcuffs, or it was always like fetishy stuff.
I think I won some porn.
Yeah, we got like a porn DVD.
Yeah, it was fucking stupid.
Yeah, I think I won some handcuffs there one time, and I won some other shit.
But that went on for a little while. That was a good club. It's fucking fun.
I remember having to, like, one of the contests, I don't even remember what it was. I was so fucked up. But I remember having to, like, stick, like, well, not, like, in her butt, but, like...
Wait, what?
No. Well, no, they were giving you these fucking... They were these giant, like, inflatable penises.
Yeah.
And then, like, you had to, like, pretend to stick them in someone's butt. You weren't really sticking them in their butt, obviously, because they were just, like, a balloon or something. It's
been a long time. I forgot.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago.
A couple years back. But these fuckers could only dream of that shit. We were actually fucking doing that shit. It was fun, but it ain't that bad. It ain't that big of a deal.
Well, it's just, like I said, you don't take it seriously.
It's like Mardi Gras.
Yeah, it's like everybody just having a good time.
Yeah.
It's like everybody has a few drinks and has a laugh at everybody, like, embarrassing themselves, and then you just go home.
It's like when I was a kid up in fucking, like when I was a kid in fucking, in Brazil, fucking Carnival would happen. And Carnival would fucking trip me the fuck out at like 16, 17. Naked women and basically naked women.
Yeah.
Everywhere. But it's just, you know what I mean? You build up a tolerance to it. It's just like, all right. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
Well, see, like, I think that's kind of a problem that arises with a lot of these kind of people with these serial killer mentalities is that they are messed up and they have particular fetishes or particular sexual proclivities, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they don't like seem to find any outlet for expressing that in any kind of like healthy or non-destructive way.
And they're making a big deal over nothing.
That too, because like I said, a lot of times I think that when you actually, and I think that might be a reason why serial killer stuff like tends to escalate over time, is that they've built it up in their head so much and then they actually do it and it wasn't as cool as they thought it was going to be, as fucked up as that is to say. Yeah, like, and it's like, well, they have to like keep like making it worse and worse.
They got to kill somebody to get laid. That's how fucking lame these motherfuckers are.
That's what I mean.
You're like, sex and death combined.
Yeah, that's definitely some fucking wires getting crossed in there somewhere. So,
motherfuckers over here, but motherfucker wants to kill somebody just to get laid.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
It is.
I'd beat a motherfucker's ass over some shit like that. It's just stupid.
Yeah, rightfully so. Well, yeah, like it just seems like it's not. I don't know.
Fuck, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal.
It's just some of these dudes. I feel like they feel like the entire fucking universe revolves around their dick, and I just don't understand that.
I got to bust a nut, so therefore you got to die.
Right? Can you imagine having that kind of mindset?
What kind of shit is that?
Like, who the fuck are you? Who do you think you are?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's like the whole place. I don't understand this at all. But I guess that's good that I don't understand it.
He's just lucky he didn't run across me.
You gonna curb stomp him?
I might fuck him just to teach him a lesson.
Just to make him.
It's like some prison shit. You know what I'm talking about?
So he'd know what it was like.
How you like that? You know what I mean? Now I'm gonna kill you over what you did to that woman.
He'd probably be into it.
It's ridiculous, yeah.
It is, yeah.
I'm just talking shit. But fucking, you know what I mean? These motherfuckers are fucking crazy, making a big deal out of nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm drunk. I'm just letting it go. I gotta say.
Thank you. Because like I said, we got to wrap this up.
We got to go out tonight.
Kind of soon. So, you know what I mean? Well, yeah. Well, if you haven't recovered in time, then we can't.
No, I can recover.
All right.
I got a fast metabolism.
Yeah. So Mary Nielsen, who was their first victim, she was last seen leaving a shop on Monday, October the 6th. She was going to a university lecture, but apparently she never made it there. Now, her car was found 6 days after she disappeared in a parking lot which was right across the street from police headquarters. Apparently, David Birnie had parked it there. Almost to like taunt the police or leave a clue. I'm not sure why. So apparently what had happened was that Mary had gone to the Birnie house. Like I said, she was going to buy tires. And as soon as she walked in the door, David apparently like had a knife and he like put it to her neck and was like, you have to do what I say. So it was like bound and gagged her, chained her to the bed. And then David repeatedly raped her while the wife was watching. And the whole time, like, the wife is asking him questions about, hey, like, what is turning you on about this the most? Like, she was, like, taking notes about the shit or something. Ugh. That's what I mean. So she could, like, later, recreate it, I guess. You know what I mean? To, like, for him to get his jollies.
This is fucking ridiculous.
This is messed up. It's bad enough when you have, like, just a dude doing this on their own, but when they can get a woman to go along with this shit, that is, like, just a whole other level.
It's kind of, like, immature. I mean, it's very immature. It's almost infantile.
It is, yeah.
Sex is not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, to where you're gonna have to fucking discuss it.
Yeah.
In that way.
That's what I mean. These people, it's like their whole fucking lives revolve around this shit.
Yeah.
So they take the girl out to this national park called Glen Eagles. Then David rapes her again. They like take a nylon cord and wrap it around her neck. And then got, like, a tree branch, like, uses, like, a garrote or whatever, and they, like, strangled her to death. Then they stabbed her, just for good measure.
Yeah.
And then buried her in a shallow grave.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous.
2 weeks later, they decided they were gonna kill another one.
Yeah.
So they kidnapped a 15-year-old girl named Susanna Candy. She was hitchhiking. in a place called Claremont. This is Australia, like I said. She was obviously still in high school, still lived with her parents. Now, apparently the Birnies had been like cruising around just looking for a victim. So she wasn't someone that they had like been watching ahead of time. She was just someone that happened to be on the side of the road and they said, hey, let's kill that one. So they stopped to pick her up. She gets in the car. He puts a knife to her throat and tied her all up. They took her back to their house, gagged her, chained her to the bed, and raped her. Now, this is fucked up too. Apparently, from what I can gather from the notes that I have read about this case, so the girl is chained to the bed, David rapes her, and then Catherine gets in the bed, and then Catherine and David have sex next to the chained up girl.
Yeah.
So then David tries to strangle the girl with a cord, but she starts freaking out, like as you would, and is trying to like fight him. So at this point, they forced sleeping pills down her neck, and she fell asleep. And then David says to his wife, hey, if you want to prove you love me, you have to strangle her. So Catherine did it.
Damn.
Apparently without any problem at all. Now, they asked later on, like after they got caught, they asked Catherine, like, well, why did you do it when he told you to? And this is what she said. She said, because I wanted to see how strong I was within my inner self.
Yeah.
I didn't feel a thing. It was like I expected. I was prepared to follow him to the end of the earth and do anything to see that his desires were satisfied. She was a female. Females hurt and destroy males.
Okay.
So that's what she said.
Yeah.
Special. So,
People are retards.
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So they take this poor girl out to the state forest where they had buried the other one and buried her right next to it.
It's so
Right
funny
next to
that
her.
they think they're so edgy.
There is nothing, to be honest, it's
there's
like...
nothing edgy about this bullshit.
To be honest, and I think I might have said this before, serial killers are like the next step of it. It's like they're extreme edgelords, and there is really nothing I hate more than edgelords.
Trying to be edgy as shit.
I mean, like I said, I just see them as like a class of edgelord that has gone like, you know what I mean? Because they're clearly trying to like impress people.
Yeah, and they're probably trying to impress themselves too.
I guess.
Over fucking nothing, you know what I mean? You're strangling a person who's already tied up. Where's the challenge there? That's not, they're trying to equate that with like storming a Japanese fucking machine gun bunker on the fucking island of Peleliu. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where it's like one dude versus 7 of them in a damn bunker with a machine gun. I got them all. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. It's like you are basically kidnapping a teenage girl who is much smaller than you.
Yeah, and tying her up.
And then tying her up.
So she can't fight back. And then you're strangling her. I was trying to test my inner strength. Bitch, please.
Yeah,
Bitch,
pretty
please.
much. That's, yeah. So November 1st, they see this woman who was 31 years old. Her name was Noeline Patterson. Now, apparently her car had run out of gas. She was coming home from work and her car had run out of gas. So she was like standing next to the car on the side of the road. So apparently these fucking assholes like pull up next to her and they're like, hey, you need some help? We'll drive you to a gas station or whatever. And the same fucking deal happened. This woman gets in the car. He holds a knife to her throat and then they tie her up. They take her back to the house and chained her to the bed, and Birnie repeatedly raped her. Now, apparently, in this particular situation, Noeline Patterson was evidently a very beautiful woman. She was like very elegant. She was very like, well liked. Like a lot of people like really, she was very socially popular. And Catherine Birnie could not fucking stand her from the get-go. So she was like very jealous. Yeah. And she was seeing how David was looking at her, and it's like it was really, really bothering her a lot. So they were actually, because what they were planning to do, just like they had done before, was that they were planning to bring Noeline home. He was going to rape her, and then they were going to kill her, just like they had done with the other two. However, David was kind of into her, so he like kept putting off killing her. And the more he did that, the more angry that Catherine got. And at one point, Catherine got so angry that she put a knife to her own throat and said, if you don't choose between me and her, I'm going to stick this fucking knife in my throat. So there was that whole issue. So Noeline was in the house for 3 days. And then Catherine was finally like, look, you need to kill her or I'm going to kill myself because you need to pick. So they did the same thing that they did with the other one. They forced an overdose of sleeping pills down her throat. And then once she was asleep, he actually ended up strangling her while she was asleep. They took her body out to the forest and buried it next to the other two. Now, apparently, and this is fucked up and this will kind of come back later, but once before they buried the woman, apparently Catherine like picked up a whole big handful of dirt and like threw it in her face. That's how mad she was. And like I said, this is a thing where she is just as responsible as fucking he is. I'm not saying that it wasn't like that before, but it's like she is apparently, I mean, she's just as into this as him. It's not a thing where she's just going along. He's a serial killer and I'm going along with it. These two are just as fucked up as each other. So only a couple days later, on the 5th of November, they kidnapped another girl, 21-year-old Denise Brown. She was waiting for a bus. So apparently they put her in the car at knife point. They take her back to the house, chain her to the bed, and raped her. Now, the next day, they took her to this pine plantation. Now, while she was in the car, like tied up in the back seat, they picked up another person who was a 19-year-old girl. Now, they tried to, but it's like this girl was like, she was walking along the road. I guess she was like looking for a ride. And then she saw like this car pull up and she saw this couple. And she's like, so I look in there and she's like, I thought they were kind of sketchy because like the dude kept looking down and the woman was like drinking rum and coke, even though I think she was driving. And so she's like, so I thought it was a little weird that they were drinking because it wasn't like nighttime or anything. So, apparently she was just like, no, it's okay, I'll walk, because she thought the shit was really sketchy. Now, she did see the victim in the back seat, but she thought that it was their kid, like, sleeping.
Right.
You know what I mean? So she didn't really... She only later on, like, when she saw, like, after they got caught and she saw, like, the fucking photographs of them, then she realized, oh, shit, who that was. Yeah, she's like, so I don't know what would have happened had I got in that car. So once they took Denise Brown into the forest, David raped her again. Then they took her out, like he raped her in the car, and then he like dragged her out into the forest and raped her again. And then he stabbed her in the neck while he was raping her. So that's nice. Now, she actually didn't die right away. Now, apparently Catherine was like holding a fucking flashlight on him so he could work with light on him, I guess. And so the victim, even though she'd been stabbed in the throat, she starts like fucking struggling, just like trying to get away and fighting and everything. So apparently Catherine, she had a knife too. So she goes over there. She's the one holding the flashlight. She goes over there and fucking was like, we'll stab her again. You know what I mean? So she goes over there, hands him the bigger knife, and he just like fucking stabbed the shit out of her. And then they dug a shallow grave and put her in it. However, before they finished covering her up, she was still alive. She sat up.
Dang.
And then David took an axe and hit her in the head with it.
Yeah.
And broke her skull.
Shit.
Like several times. But she was like fucking trying like hell to get
live,
the fuck out of there. Like she sat up in the fucking grave. How fucking horrible is that? And then he just like hit her in the head with it. And that even that didn't work. Like he hit her in the axe one time and she was still like trying to get out and he had to turn it around and fucking hit her again.
Damn.
Holy fucking shit.
Thankfully, she was probably fucking stunned. Usually when a person goes through that...
so. Can you imagine?
Usually when a person goes through that amount of trauma, they're not real all there. Kind of robotic.
I mean, I would hope that like your brain would be nice enough to just be like check out of that shit because holy crap.
These two bitches deserve death. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, no shit. Look how blurry this is getting. Why is this so blurry?
I don't know.
Oh,
because
okay.
It's getting darker outside, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. It's adjusting to the light, I guess. Yeah. Sorry about that. So, yeah. So, even though, as I said, Catherine Birnie is a piece of shit also, but apparently the brutality of this particular murder actually kind of snapped her out of this shit. Like, hey, maybe this is a little messed up, you think? Yeah, it was. Because apparently she didn't really care about the women getting raped and stabbed and strangled and stuff like that. But, getting, like, smashed in the head with an axe and stuff like that, that was just a little bit too far. You know what I mean? So she apparently decided that she's like, well, I think that I have to do something about this because this is getting, to a point where, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Now, some have speculated that because of the brutality of the murder of Denise Brown and the subsequent rethinking of things that Catherine went through, that this is maybe indirectly how they ended up getting caught, because the next victim that they kidnapped, who was a 16-year-old girl who I have not seen named in the materials that I read. So they kidnapped this girl, did the whole thing where they chained her to the bed, David raped her and stuff like that, and they actually kept her in the house for several days. And Catherine kind of came to a thing where she didn't deliberately let the girl go, but she knew that David was going to kill her, and that if the girl escaped and they got caught, that it would be okay. So basically, what ended up happening was that, a couple of days after this girl had been kidnapped and she was kind of like, tied to the bed and stuff like that, the girl actually ended up getting loose. And because David was at work, and I guess Catherine was supposed to be watching her, but she was kind of like lax in it, I guess, because she was kind of like low-key, maybe over this shit at this point. So she goes, like, the doorbell rings or something like that, and she goes to the door. I think it was their cocaine dealer, because the girl that was kidnapped did say something about David injecting cocaine into his penis.
Damn.
Which I'm not sure how good of an idea that is. I mean,
I've heard of this.
That's
but
kind of low down on the list of bad ideas this dude has had. But I'm just saying that I was like, is that a thing?
I've never heard of that before. I don't know.
Thing?
I don't have any experience myself. No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised. It's like because every drug, everything has been injected into everywhere.
Yeah.
It's been swallowed. It's been stuck up everyone's ass. It's like someone has done it somewhere.
It's ridiculous. But I'm just glad that the girl realized that she had nothing to gain from any of this bullshit, killing these girls. So she's like, maybe we should let these girls go. Maybe I should.
Yeah, maybe you should have thought of that before 4 fucking people got killed.
Right,
but
yeah.
I'm just saying. At least she came to that. But so the girl actually did end up getting loose and jumping naked out of the window and running to the police station.
Yeah.
This poor fucking girl, she's 16.
I don't blame her.
I know. And she
run too.
Yeah, and she shows up and she tells them all about, she knows where the house is, she knows the address, she knows what they look like, she knows everything. So she tells them everything. Yeah. Now, at this stage, it should be said, I mean, this is Perth, which is, I don't know how big of a town it is, but it's not really a city that was known for being like a haven for serial killers. It was like, that was some big city shit. That was like some shit that happened in Sydney or something like that. Right. It's like, it wasn't really something that happened in Perth, but because these 4 women had gone missing in kind of a similar way, and they were kind of from similar backgrounds, so some of the authorities in Perth had started to suspect that there was a serial killer on the loose. And so this girl turning up, initially, when she turned up, they thought it was Denise Brown because, she had most recently been reported missing. But obviously, sadly, she was already dead at this point. But this girl turns up and tells them the story. She's like, look, I know where the house is. Come on, we'll go back and get it. So the cops go to the fucking house, and no one was home at that stage. I think Catherine came home later, and they asked about it, and she denied everything. And then David came home and he also denied everything. Now, the thing about it, though, was that the girl, this is a fucking smart girl, man. The victim, she had what she had thought to do. She had taken her bag and her cigarettes, and before she ran, she had stuck them up in the ceiling tile so she could prove that she had been there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, so she had done that. And so the cops went in there and they found the shit up there and they said, okay, well, that's, she was here just like she said. But the thing was, even though they suspected that these 2 were probably responsible for all of these other women going missing, they couldn't find any other evidence that they had anything to do with these other disappearances. However, because they had charges to hold on the kidnapping of this one particular girl and the rape of this particular girl, they could at least keep them and question them and shit like that. As I said, both of them initially denied it. But at one point, one of the investigators says to Birnie, who had come home like from work later that day, and then they picked him up as well. he was kind of like joking, not thinking anything was going to come of it, going, well, it's getting dark, better go get the shovel and dig up all those people that you killed. And David said, okay, there's 4 of them. He just said it like straight out like that. And the cop was like amazed. He's like, oh my God, I didn't think that was going to work. I was just kind of like joking. So he led them like out to the fucking forest where they had buried the 4 victims. They dug them up and they're like, oh, well,
Yep.
guess it was you guys.
Gotcha.
And it's like, so once he like had confessed, then they told Catherine, so she like busted out and told everything that had happened as well. So they both ended up getting fucking convicted. 4 counts of murder, several counts of rape, kidnapping, etc., etc. Because I believe that area of Australia does not have the death penalty. Actually, I don't think Australia in general has the death penalty. But they got life in prison. Now, one of them, at least, I think, would have been eligible for parole in 2007. But they said because the public...
The gravity of the fucking offense.
Because the public... Yeah. And I saw a documentary about it, and it's like when they were taking these 2 out of the fucking courtroom, it's like there was like a huge crowd out there, and they're just like, string them up! They were just they were very, very mad. So it's like they don't think... It was kind of like a Brady and Hindley situation where, like in the UK,
they're
where...
never going,
yeah, it's like even if technically they're allowed to get parole, that shit's never going to happen because the public just hates them so fucking much. And they're like, even now, their house... in Perth, they're like, it has kind of the same, I don't want to say gravitas because that sounds positive, but it has the same infamy that, the house of like, the Wests and stuff like that, like had in the UK where it's like people like drive by and look at it. It's like, that's where that's where the Birnies lived and shit like that. You will be happy to hear that David Birnie like was beat up many times in prison. And also that he attempted suicide.
That's not a manly crime. You go to prison over some shit like that, and everybody knows what you did.
That's what I mean. It's like,
ass beat.
It obviously killing anybody's not good. Killing innocent people of any kind is not good.
Yeah.
But it's like a dude that just kind of kidnapped like poor defenseless like teenagers that are just like walking down the store waiting for a bus or whatever, just to like tie them up, rape them, and murder them. It's like, prisoners
that don't fly
also have wives and daughters and things.
They're going to be worried about all their family members out on the outside. If you want to go to prison, you go to prison under the fucking charge of bank robbery.
Yeah.
Or killing an enemy. Shit like that. That's a man's crime.
That's what I mean. So in a way, I can't feel too bad about other prisoners even like being like, nah, bro.
Right, yeah.
And just like beating the crap out of you because it's like, I'm not saying what they did was so much better they'd be in there, but it's like doing shit like that, that you fucking deserve getting your fucking ass beat for that kind of shit.
Well, some prisoners are in there for handling their business. That's what they call it on the street. Handling their business.
Yeah, like,
taking care of somebody who fucked them over.
I can see that. It's like,
street justice.
That's what I mean. I know it's terrible, but it's like, if the person that you're killing is also a terrible person.
Yeah. Most of the time
I can't feel quite as bad about it.
Yeah, most of the time it is.
Like I said, but just like killing like a 15-year-old girl that was just waiting for a fucking bus. Obviously that is not forgivable in any universe.
Yeah, you're shitty.
I'm sorry.
You're just shitty.
Yeah, and it's like and the fact that he got a woman, his wife.
Yeah.
Well, technically not his wife, because that was another thing when they were in prison. Yeah. Like, because the judge was like, separate these bitches, don't let them ever see each other ever again. And they were apparently really upset by that because they wanted to like marry for real, and it's like they wanted to see each other and stuff. And the judge was like, no, that is not happening. Yeah. And they were kind of like trying to petition. It's like, oh, it's not fair, and yada yada. It's like, yeah, well, life's not fair. So there was that whole thing going on too. So they were not allowed to marry. They were not allowed to see each other. They were not allowed anything. Like I said, they never got parole or anything. And rightfully so, because these two were fucking shitheads. And like I said, this is even a case, maybe even worse than, I don't want to say worse than Brady and Hindley, but in that sense, I think Brady was the worst of the two. Like, I don't think that Myra Hindley would have done anything had she not met him. These two, I'm not really sure, because Catherine kind of seemed like a piece of shit from the beginning, too.
I don't compare any of these cases fucking
It's hard
directly.
to. You can't really.
You just put them in the shit pile. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. Like, these people are shit.
Yeah. And these two, I mean,
like
this is...
BTK's a shit. And BTK's sitting right here.
And you're talking shit to his face.
Well, you gotta understand something,
Here we go.
I'm not in the mood.
You're not in the mood to do BTK.
I'm not in the mood to do BTK. Well, you gotta understand. No. Yeah.
BTK sounds kind of drunk.
Yeah. Too drunk to do BTK.
Too drunk to do BTK.
I gotta sober up so we can go out tonight.
I know, right? It's getting to a point where I
gotta drive.
I need to start thinking about getting ready. It's still several hours before we go, but I still have to think about trying to get ready and stuff like that.
I only had 5 drinks.
Wait, 5?
Well, 2, but you know how I pour them.
Oh, well, 2, but in a big
you know
glass.
how I pour them.
So it was 2 doubles.
They're Tom Ross pours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Of
heavy-handed.
tequila. Yeah.
You would get fired being a bartender because giving too much liquor away.
Well, I don't know. Tom, his bar, he told me that fucking per bottle he doesn't pay much.
Yeah,
They
bars have a pretty healthy margin.
Right.
Because you can get a bottle for pretty cheap, and you can get a lot of cocktails out of that.
He was telling me the price of a bottle. He's like, dude, man, a bottle's only fucking $5. And I was like, what?
Well, wholesale.
Yeah. Well, no, he's getting them through the liquor dealers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a civilian or a regular person would pay $12 for a fucking fifth.
Even if you pay $12, you're still getting several $10 cocktails out of that shit.
Right. Well, he's paying $5 instead of $12.
Yeah.
So the profit margin's big.
Well, you're paying for the ambiance or something.
Yeah.
Because you can drink much cheaper at home.
Yeah.
But
No. Well, you can drink cheaper at home, but bar price, what they're paying for a fucking fifth is fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
you know that really cheap fucking low fucking rot gut, bottom of the shelf fucking vodka that fucking you see it fucking like Aristocrat.
Yeah, I think it's called Aristocrat.
Aristocrat's like $1 a fifth.
That's more than it's worth. I have to be honest with you.
That's like
well, the thing about it, it's look, I'm not a liquor snob. It's I'll drink, fucking what's that fucking whipped cream, vodka.
Pinnacle.
I'll drink Pinnacle.
Pinnacle's good though.
That's only $11-12 for a pretty big bottle of it. But even Aristocrat's fucking bad.
That's
a little too... that's basically just drinking, rubbing alcohol.
Yeah, Aristocrat's terrible.
That's what it tastes
Aristocrat.
It's hard to mess up vodka, but that's... Because vodka is, all in what you mix it with and stuff.
Yeah.
But that just tastes like...
kerosene.
Yeah, it tastes like you're drinking kerosene.
It's fucking terrible.
But the nice thing about vodka, not only can you mix it with a lot of different things, because it doesn't have, a real strong flavor of its own, so it's very versatile, which I like about it. But... you don't have to get a super expensive one to have a decent drink with it. Like I said, you can get a $12 thing of Pinnacle and it tastes perfectly fine. If you
the
mix
cheapest
it with shit.
decent tasting vodka I've found is Sky.
Well, Sky is a little bit more expensive than Pinnacle.
By $1 or $2. The thing is we're talking about unflavored vodkas.
Yeah.
It's easier to get away with a flavored vodka.
Yeah.
Sky's an unflavored vodka.
That's what I'm drinking right now.
Yeah,
This is Sky in here right now. With orange juice and gravy.
Civilian price for a Sky is about, $12 a fifth.
Well, now, I usually get, the 1.75 liter one, which I think is 22 or 23.
Well, what did I say?
You said 12.
About $12 a fifth. It's about $12 a fifth, I think. I thought.
Yeah. Well.
I think that's what I paid for it. It might have been less.
Where'd you get it? Where'd you get it? The Walmart liquor store?
Publix.
Oh, you got it at Publix? The Publix liquor store. Okay.
Maybe that was $20. You think it might be? It's $19 for that big old.
Yeah,
bottle.
I think I got it at the Walmart liquor store.
Right.
Last time, a few months ago when I bought one, I got a big one, which is 1.75 liters.
About $20.
And I think it was $19.99 or $21.99. I can't remember.
And the thing is that's actually a good tasted vodka.
Now the Sam's one, you get a 1.75 liter.
Yeah,
for
and it's cheap.
$13.99. I think the last time I bought it, I think it was $13.99.
And
that's decent.
Sam's silver tequila tastes every bit like Milagro.
Yeah.
Silver. And they're only $19.
Yeah, so if you have a Sam's Club or you have a Sam's membership, go to the Sam's liquors. Don't get the whiskey though, because that's disgusting.
No, this whiskey's terrible.
But everything else,
vodka and the tequila.
The vodka's good. The tequila's good.
The rum's good.
The rum's good.
Yeah.
And it's way cheaper.
Yeah.
Than a comparable tasting.
It is.
From what I've, I said, I'm not a liquor snob. I don't know.
I keep going back to that damn Sam's silver tequila. That's just like Milagro silver. for a fraction of the price.
It is, yeah. And like I said, if we don't always go to the Sam because the Publix is a lot closer.
Right.
So usually if we don't want to drive all the way to Sam's liquor store, because that's kind of like a lot farther. But I say a lot farther. It's like 3
all we do
miles.
is talk about crime, paranormal, fucking sex, and booze. How'd this shit happen?
Well, that's 4 whole topics.
God damn.
That's more than some people talk about. Some people only talk about one topic ever.
God damn.
We're well rounded.
I guess so.
And those are all very interesting topics that people want to know about.
I guess so.
Sex and booze, particularly.
Speaking of, we got to go out tonight.
Oh, we do, yeah.
Shut it down.
And it's almost time for me to start
Getting ready.
getting pretty to go out, because that takes me like a really long time.
I'm gonna sleep some of this shit off.
Yeah, you really need to, because I mean, you still have a few hours. You're all right.
I just gotta wear it off. It'll wear off.
You'll be all right. You haven't drank that much. Just don't worry about it.
Not that much.
All right. So hope you guys, like I said, enjoyed our truncated Valentine's Day show, which I thought was going to be like about much more cases, but
no.
Hopefully we got into enough of it. It's a special.
Two's enough.
Yeah.
Two's enough.
Anyway, so like I said, Valentine's Day is this week. This is going to be out a few days before. We're also going to do like other Valentine's themed shows, so like movie review, and the Witching Hour show is kind of going to be Valentine's themed as well. So hope you guys enjoy that and have a good Valentine's Day and everything like that. Remember, if you like the show, like, share, subscribe on all your social media. Be sure to check out our new Instagram. I promise I will put more stuff up there, because there's only like 4 or 5 posts right now.
Instagram.
So follow us on Instagram. Yeah. We just fucking started it. Like I said, like a decade too late, but whatever. We're finally getting into it.
We're too old.
Yeah, we're too old for this social media shit. I don't have time to keep up with all this crap. But yeah, so remember, if you want to support the show, you can go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/13o'clock podcast, or you can go to our blog, 13o'clockpodcast.wordpress.com, and there is a button in the sidebar to a PayPal account if you'd like to give a one-time donation. Anything would be much appreciated and helps to make the show better. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed episode 182, our 3rd Valentine's Day special. We will see you next time. Bye.